Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless. Streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. Coming up this hour on the most dangerous show on the airwaves. Looks like there might be an angle for Fauci to go to jail. Also, it looks like more protests are popping up against Sophie Cunningham in other cities which have the WNBA. But before we get to any of that, my friends, it's time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
I was talking with my friend Jeff Pogela from Northwest News Radio, and I said to him, how much longer do you think Katie Wilson is going to be mayor of Seattle? And Jeff said to me, well, what's going to last longer, Liz Truss or a head of lettuce? And I said, what are you talking about? And he's a very worldly fellow, and he says, well, the British tabloid, the Daily Star, had a head of lettuce next to a framed photograph of Liz Truss, who had become the prime minister just over a month earlier, back on September 6, 2022. She was such a disaster that the question was, how long was her government going to last? How long was she going to last as prime minister? So they started doing this shtick. What's going to last longer, Liz Truss or a head of lettuce? I think I need to get some lettuce. I think we need to put out some lettuce, maybe on a windowsill out here at KVI, and see what's going to last longer. The head of lettuce or Mayor Fivehead? We got to see how long that's actually going to last for, because I don't think her political career is going to last much longer. Let me give you some background before what happened at today's press conference, which I attended along with the rest of the Seattle media. Here's the context. I've been covering the Seattle City Council for, about 7-8 years now. And in those 7-8 years, I have never seen the council united on anything, ever. They disagree on everything you can think of. Now, you always have the far left and the more moderates, and okay, fine. All of them, there are 9 of them, every single one of them is calling Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson, following her actions or her mismanagement of the shooting at Bite of Seattle, incompetent, not up to the job, inexperienced. It's across the board. It's across the board. She has no allies. She has no friends left. Why is Katie all alone? No friends, no friends. Right. That is Katie Wilson right now. You burn enough bridges, nobody's going to stick up for you. Even Alexis Mercedes Rink, who is the other socialist, is like, I want no piece of this. I'm staying far, far away from this. Not yet. Not yet. You got to save that, Zach. Zach's co-piloting the show today. Save that, Zach. We're not up to that yet. We're not there yet. So the harder thing for me is that members of the Seattle City Council, I got some that I get along with great, and I got some that don't like me, and I don't like them. I think it is safe to say that me and Deborah Juarez do not like each other at all. So when I find myself agreeing with Deborah Juarez, who's a terrible council member and has also grossly mismanaged her district, but when she says things like this, I'm like, she's not wrong.
People of Seattle want confidence in their mayor. And right now, I don't know if the people of Seattle have confidence in the mayor. I have confidence in Chief Barnes. I do not have confidence in this administration.
Okay. I don't have confidence in this administration, but to be fair, I didn't have confidence in Chief Barnes. As I said yesterday, 2 things can be true at one time. He's an incompetent DEI boob, but he also is the fall guy for all of this. Both of those are true. Matt Gilbert for the win. Zach just brought this to my attention over on the text line. Let us pray that Katie's reign doesn't remain much longer. Text of the day in the opening segment of the show. Well done, Matt Gilbert. Well done. So that was.
Can't believe he did it.
Oh, no. Very good. Very good. What else did Deborah Juarez say today?
I'm seeing in real time real arrogance, a lack of commitment to working with the legislative branch, and a lot of privilege, quite frankly.
Really got to the heart of things.
guys are so much better with
Doesn't
the dad
come from the
jokes.
best of stock.
Oh, you guys are so much better at that, at the punny stuff than I am. So much better. Now, Katie Wilson being called out by every member of the Seattle City Council. Don't forget, yesterday, Rob Saka was talking about how he found out the police chief was fired from his wife who was working in another room of the house. This happens with me and my wife all the time. Sweetie, are you seeing this right now? Seeing what? That's sounds like what goes on in my house. But here's the thing. You can't blame it on being a newbie. She's been the mayor since January. Okay, that's 7 months now. By now, you should have figured out where the toner is, right?
But Mayor Wilson is not a newbie. She's not a novice. She is not.
Novice?
She is part of the establishment. She does know how things work here on the second floor. I've watched her for a decade on the second floor. She was one of the architects behind the Jumpstart tax. She knows how things work. She is not anti-establishment. And so I don't understand how this mayor cannot hear us when we try to share our wisdom, our collective experience, our expertise, because that's not what we're hearing. And what I'm seeing, this is me speaking. I'm seeing in real time real arrogance, a lack of commitment to working with the legislative branch, and a lot of privilege, quite frankly.
Well, because she's coming from that activist class that you guys cave to all the time. Her activist lunatics would show up to City Hall. I saw it happen with my own two eyes. They would show up to City Hall and yell and scream until you did what they wanted, and you caved. You guys all voted for the Jumpstart tax. You guys caved to her. So she comes walking in there. See, this is the problem. I have to defend both sides, and I want the whole world to blow up. You guys caved to her for years and years and years, and now she's surprised you're not caving to her because she won an election. That's actually, I put that on the city council. But she's right in the fact that Katie Wilson, as the head of the Transit Riders Union, was very successful in forcing the city council to do the things she wanted. She has no brains in her head, and she was being used by the progressive left, but you guys gave her that opening. You guys caved to her year after year after year after year. So she's showing up and going, why aren't you listening to me now? It's a different game. And also, let's not forget, this woman has never had a job before in her life, so working with other people doesn't seem to be her strong suit. Also, just technical matters doesn't seem to be her strong suit. Common sense doesn't seem to be her strong suit. She was an activist. Her group would threaten you, boycott you, whatever the case may be, and they got what they wanted. She's the kid who's stamping and crying on the floor of the grocery store because the kid wants the giant box of whatever it is, and then the kid can't figure out how to open the box. That's Katie Wilson.
She's gone from a pawn to a queen and has no idea how to play the game. At best, she can manage tic-tac-toe.
That's a great analogy, Zach. That's a great analogy. That's exactly right. Okay, so I walk into City Hall today, and I get to City Hall, and here's the fun of City Hall. I was running a little bit late. I had some meetings this morning, had to get down there. My wife, who was also in the room, got there before me. And she tells me there's some drama going on. We'll get to that in a second. The drama, she told me, was that reporters are downstairs and that somebody in the lobby was saying only certain members of the media could go upstairs and other members of the media could not. Now, I have spoken to the mayor's office about this, and apparently what happened was they said, well, it's a new person down there who doesn't know the rules. We never said that. This was a very seasoned security guard who was downstairs who was saying that. And the media started setting up their cameras, getting ready to show this section where they were, the elevators and stuff, where they weren't being allowed up. And then all of a sudden, people came downstairs and said you could come upstairs. Mayor's office says that's a miscommunication, said they never said that at all. In fact, they came to find me at the presser after it was over, after I'd already posted the story to social media, to be like, Ari, did you post something about this? Yeah, that's not what happened. I said, well, it kind of happened downstairs. This is what happened. And they said, well, it's not really what happened. No, it's a new person. It's a new person. It's a new person. And the joke is, like, so you guys have heard of me. You guys do check my social media, right? That's what it is here. It kind of feels like at this point the Jack Sparrow moment, right? Where these guys who never answer my press requests and never want to talk to me, you're listening to the show? You're looking at my social media?
You are without doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
That's how I felt today. I got to say that's how I felt today at that presser.
This guy's not a journalist. Have you seen his stuff? So you've seen my stuff.
You've seen my stuff. You're admitting you've seen my stuff. So Seattle City Hall, Seattle Mayor's office is saying, nope, there was never a list of who could not come. Some reporters were told they couldn't before being allowed upstairs. Was that an old rule, or did somebody in the lobby have the wrong information? Seattle Mayor's office continues to say that the person had the wrong information. They never gave that directive. Okay, until proven otherwise, we'll go with that. But I don't know. I was on a blacklist for the mayor's office. Actually, I walked up to one of the mayor's people. I walked up to one of the other people.
That's a different list.
That's a
the
different
hiring
list.
roster.
I walked up to one of the mayor's people after the thing because they didn't call on half the media for questions. Didn't call on half of us. And I introduced myself. I said, I'm Ari. I just want you to know I'm not the devil incarnate. I'm actually a very nice guy. And I said, I know there's a blacklist for the mayor's office. And the person kind of looked at me and goes, there is? And I couldn't tell if they're telling the truth or not. Just couldn't tell. I said, well, I've got the PDR document showing we do not give interviews to these people under the Harrell administration. I assume it carried over because you guys never get back to me on anything. And she goes, no, that's not the case at all. I go, I've got the PDR.
We don't get back to anybody.
So there's somebody from the Urbanist there. Do you know what the Urbanist is?
Unfortunately.
Right. Far, far left. And I start talking to this masked individual.
If a bicycle wrote a newspaper.
That's perfect. Somebody who fell off a bicycle wrote a newspaper. So this person from the Urbanist who's wearing the mask and looks the part and everything is standing there. And I overhear them talking to another reporter, and the Urbanist is mentioning how the mayor's office doesn't get back to them. And I said, wait. I'm sorry, I'm Ari Hoffman, blah, blah, blah. We had a good laugh over that I'm the devil incarnate and all that. And I said, they're not getting back to you? And she goes, no, rarely they get back to us. I go, so it's not just me then. This administration is incompetent. That's the difference.
I think I may have shared this on your show before, but I went to a gathering of like a journalism gathering, kind of a happy hour thing.
Yeah.
And they were all complaining about the mayor. And these are people who, as if the uniform was trousers, white button-down shirts, and a little plaid vest, and that was on the women. And I mean, it was the most far-left group of people you've ever been surrounded with, all complaining about the mayor because, as journalists, it bothered them how limited their access to the mayor's office was, something they'd never experienced under any other administration.
Right, because they expect this is also their friend who they helped get elected. And today, that room was packed. So as I'm taking elevators and walking around talking to security guards and getting coffee and all that, I said, have you ever seen anything like this before? And they go, not since Ed Murray. Ed Murray was the mayor who got booted out of office because of an alleged sex scandal with minor boy children. Let's remember that for a second, okay? So he gets booted out of office for that, and they haven't seen anything like this before, and it was a lot of, it's been a crazy week around here. We haven't seen anything like this in a long, long time. One person said to me, it may have been worse with Nichols during the snowstorm, when they didn't plow anything and cars are skidding everywhere and people are trapped in their homes for 2 weeks.
Is that person working the microfiche?
Well, here's the question. How did anybody get to City Hall? So I'm not sure it was worse then because all the streets were frozen. So maybe it wasn't worse during Nichols because it was just a disaster. But what happens is we go into the room. Every reporter was there. Here's some real-time audio of all the reporters showing up to the room this morning, angling, fighting for the front row seat.
It wouldn't be a battle without Jill Jansen and Wendy Van Peel from Entertainment News.
Entertainment news is an abomination.
Who are you wearing today? Oh, look, it's your own blood. Today's celebrity birthdays, none. Today's celebrity deaths, all you trick-ass.
Hey! There's not going to be any fight without Scott Riles and the incredibly polite Canadian news team.
What about the French-speaking Quebec News? The real voice of Canada.
Give it a rest, eh?
Give me a break. They can't have news. Nothing happens in Canada.
We're going to mop the floor with you. We're going to put the boots to you. Sorry.
Sorry. We're gonna gouge your eyes out and kick your head in. Sorry.
I like your ginger ale.
Jeff Bullington, ESPN All Sports. Tonight's player today is me, extracting your spine from your dead body.
Holy there's a lot of news. It's true, the market is becoming saturated.
So let's see who's in this room. You've got all the TV stations. You've got all the print outlets. You've got Cho. You've got Brandy. You've got even the far, far left blogger types. You've got the Urbanist and me. I don't usually go to these things. I really, really don't. 2 press conferences in a week? This is not what I do. I stay here and I make fun of people. I stay here and I yell at people. I do investigations on my computer. If I'm showing up for your press conference, it's got to be super bad and convenient. Got to be really, really bad and convenient to my schedule. That's how you know. And knowing is half the battle. It was that bad. Now, here's something that doesn't come across in the audio. Katie Wilson was 5 feet from me, right in front of me. My wife got me a front row seat, which is really great. I'm sitting there right in the front row, and you know I'm the last person that Mayor Fivehead wants to see in the front row because she's probably worried I'm about to say, excuse me, Mayor Fivehead. She's probably worried about that.
Did they serve concessions?
Very good. I wish. I had to pay for my coffee downstairs. Anyway, but there were no concessions from this mayor at all. Oh,
there's about to be.
Bruce Harrell did a concession a while ago. So what happened? You know what? He's probably sitting at home going, I lost to this. This is who I lost to.
As he should.
As he should. See, this is the problem. I don't want to defend him. He wasn't that great. If you had a good candidate in there, she'd never be the mayor. Her voice was shaking. Her voice was shaking the whole time. At multiple points, she looked like she was going to cry. Absolutely looked like she was going to cry. What is the biggest revelation out of this? The news media, Chris Daniels, Hannah Kim, rock stars, Jeremy Harris, rock stars as they always are. And I was actually kind of surprised that I didn't hear Chris Daniels ask about the Sonics. No, I'm just kidding. He did a great job. I actually turned around because he's right behind me in the thing. And I turned to him. I go, hey, Chris, hey. I go, I'm going to let you do the heavy lifting today. And he just got a big smile and laughed. He was very friendly. Anyway, so what happens is what we found out today, new police chief, still no information on the suspects. None. But we did find out they are confirmed looking for multiple suspects. That means 2 people are on the run, have been on the run since Sunday. And we have none, zero, zilch information on who they might be. And they just killed a bunch of people outside the biggest tourist attraction in Seattle. That's number 1. Number 2, our new police chief has a house in Chicago. I kid you not. He has a house in Chicago, and he travels back and forth between Chicago and here. He's here allegedly more often than Sean Barnes, and that's exactly what got Sean Barnes in trouble.
Another one.
Exactly. In addition to that, the question was, did Mayor Katie Wilson fire Chief Barnes or ask him to resign? The way we heard the story from our sources was she said to him, quit, resign, or you're fired. So the tail end of the press conference today, the tail end. And now I shouldn't say the end. It was it wasn't even an hour, I don't think, that I was sitting in this room for. And it was really hot. No air conditioning. I think they were trying to scare us out because it was so hot in that room.
I think it's just they wanted to make sure everyone was sweating so that way she wouldn't be the only one sweating.
It's probably true. Here's the other thing. They only took the questions from the outlets they wanted to take them to. It got so bad that you had Hannah Kim, Chris Daniels, Jeremy Harris, everybody be like, no, wait, I got to follow up. No, I got this. No, I got that. And they wouldn't answer those questions. And they ignored a whole bunch of us in the room. Ignored a lot of us in the room who want to ask a question. And then it was, okay, bye, we got to go now. In fact, the police started filing out before her, probably because they didn't want to be caught up in this disaster.
They've got some work to do.
They've got some actual work to do. Like find 2 murderers that are out there. Maybe go find them 2 that are missing. Then here's what we find out at the end. Give a listen.
You've made it sound like there was an agreement between you and Chief Barnes to leave. But isn't the fact of the matter that you gave him an ultimatum that he would either leave or he'd be terminated?
I asked him to resign.
Is he getting money? Is he getting a settlement?
Goodbye. Goodbye now. Goodbye. Goodbye now. Goodbye. Goodbye now. There they all go. She asked him to resign. Now you hear Jeremy Harris at the end say, is he getting a settlement? Earlier in the press conference, somebody else asked that question. And there was a settlement. What's the follow-up question? What was the settlement? I prefer not to discuss it, but that's taxpayer money. So guess what I filed a PDR for, my friends? How much was the settlement? Actually, you know what's funny? I filed it like when I first started hearing he was gone. Because he was originally texting everybody he was fired. Then it's he resigned. What was the golden parachute you offered him so that he would agree to say he resigned? And here's something else. With something like this, why aren't we hearing from Sean Barnes? Where's he at? And you may think, oh, he just wants to go enjoy Seafair with his family or in Chicago.
Go Cubs, go.
Yeah, exactly. He's at a Cubs game. He's at
go.
Wrigley right now. You may be thinking that. No. You know why you're probably not hearing from Sean Barnes? Usually when you get a golden parachute, there's a non-disclosure, non-disparagement agreement. And if you talk about a person, even though they're not technically enforceable, if you're getting that money electronically like most people do in this day and age, guess what's going to stop showing up? So how much was the golden parachute for?
An NDA is no match for a PDA.
Oh, thank you, Zach. Thank you. Thank you for that. That wise commentary there. That's very good.
I'll engrave it on your desk.
There we go. We'll put that right up there along with a few of our other best of quotes. Another one. We'll put that right up there alongside all of them. You think that opening segment was fun today, my friends? We got a whole lot more for you. Looks like these rallies in support of Sophie Cunningham are spreading across the country. So are the activists to try and keep men in women's sports. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. My daughter got back to town last night. She was away for the summer. And I said, sweetie, did you see all the stuff happening with Sophie Cunningham? And she goes, oh, my God, Dad, I would have loved to have gone to that game because I love Sophie Cunningham. My daughter does not sport. She does not do the sports. That is not her thing. But Sophie Cunningham has become such a cultural icon at this point, where we are right now, that teenage girls want to go see her. Which brings me back.
Oh, it's not just teenage girls.
Well, let's be fair. There's some other people who want to go look at her too, but I'm a little old for that, and I'm happily married, and I don't do that. Anywho, I said to my daughter, wouldn't it have been great to get her sneakers? She goes, I was so mad when I saw they were sold out. I said, would you like me to buy you a Sophie Cunningham jersey? And she goes, I don't wear basketball jerseys, but I'll take a T-shirt or whatever else it was. I'll take a sweatshirt or something. She also wanted the XXXY gear that the girls were wearing on courtside. She saw all this. Sophie Cunningham has now become bigger than the game, bigger than the team, bigger than the sport. And the WNBA is doing everything they can to shoot themselves in the foot. What I do not understand, and I don't get this at all, you're trying to make a profit, and you are saying we only want to cater to lesbians and trans people, and we're a women's basketball team. Number one, sex sells. Okay, as Zach was just subtly referencing.
Whoa.
Subtly.
She's a great talent to the game, Ari.
Yes, I'm sure that's what you were implying. But after that, little girls, teenage girls, kids want to be like her. They look up to her. They want to buy her sneakers. They want to buy her jersey. They want to watch her at the game. And you've got all these Looney Tune protesters who are showing up now to yell at Sophie Cunningham, and I'm not talking about like when the Yankees come to town and you want to boo Aaron Judge. That's not what I'm talking about. They want to get mad at her for her politics, and they want to destroy her fans. So when the co-owner of the Storm goes and berates a couple of teenage girls who have signs that say, we love you, Sophie Cunningham. Thank you for standing up for girls' sports. And you're the owner of a girls' basketball team.
Have you seen the collective ownership group of the Storm before?
Okay.
I want to get your live reaction to this.
Flip it around. Look. What the hell is that? Okay. Is that a dude on the end, or is that a... Oh, no, that's a woman. Holy cow. My God. Okay, I will describe what I am looking at.
Oh.
Weeble wobbles wobble, but they don't fall down. That is what the ownership group of the... I broke Zach. That is what the ownership group of the Storm looks like. Let me just put it this way. You know, there's certain people who look like they were the roadies in the band and were never actually in the band. I don't think these people ever passed gym class. And that's me saying this. I know what I look like now. I'm a little bit more rotund than I used to be.
I don't think they all hated watching Sophie Cunningham play.
No, I don't think so at all. In fact, I think a lot of them probably liked it in a different way. Holy cow, Zach.
All kind of in the same way.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we're going to get a nasty text any minute now. We're going to get But all right, those are the people making the calls. But here's the thing. Don't you want to make money? Well, looking at their wardrobe, they clearly don't care about that. Looking at that, don't you want to make money? I use this example all the time. Years ago, when I was running the event rental company, there was an anti-Israel person, organization, whatever it was, and they called me and asked if I would rent them bounce houses. And I said, of course. I knew this was a trap. I knew it was a trap. And I said, do you have a nonprofit number? And they said, yes. I'm like, give it to me. I'll give you the 10% discount we give to nonprofits. Now they had to go through with the event. I think it was like one bounce house. It wasn't something, but now they have to go through with it, right? So I deliver the thing. The event goes off fine. Perfect, whatever. Afterwards, I took every single dollar that I made off that job and I donated it to the Israeli Defense Forces in their name. And I used their email address so that they got the thank you for donating to the Israel Friends of the IDF. Look, take the money and support your liberal causes. Take the money and give it to whatever. You are destroying your own business. And if that wasn't bad enough, Angel Reese and Paige Buchers, I don't know who these people are. They're other members of the WNBA. They posted this video, and the WNBA reshared it the other day.
At All-Star Weekend, you and Angel made a bet with each other on this game. Is that bet still...
This is how the rich stay rich. You gotta save this money. I'm gonna see you next week on Wednesday.
Yeah.
At night?
No, at practice.
Oh, at practice?
I mean, I know y'all gonna lose, but if y'all lose,
I get to have that.
if y'all win, you get it 400.
And if we lose, then you get to keep.
No, you owe me 400.
They're literally gambling on the game. Pete Rose was banned from the Hall of Fame for that.
And this wasn't a video they posted or their teams posted. This video was posted by the league.
Right. The league says there's gambling by the players in the WNBA. How do you know they're not throwing games? Not that we care who wins in the WNBA, but how do you know they're not throwing games? Do you want people to watch your sport or not? And here's something else. There's one thing to be jealous of Sophie Cunningham because her sneaker line showed up and sold out, and all the girls want to be her, and all the girls want her jerseys. So be better. Stuff her on the court. Stop those baskets. Steal the ball. Beat her on the court. But you can't do that. You can't do that. So this is how you fight. She's going to be the one who's making all the money. Oh, and my favorite part of that video is right back at the very, very beginning, this part right here.
At All-Star Weekend, you and Angel made a bet with each other on this game. Is that bet still?
This is how the rich stay rich.
Aren't you the ones that are always saying you don't get paid enough? You're always saying, pay us what we're due, pay us what we're owed. Well, the league doesn't make any money, so technically none of you are worth anything. But you're saying this is how the rich stay rich? How do you think that goes in your negotiations with your contract? If I was the ownership group, I would say, you said you're rich, you must be doing fine.
And I was pulling some numbers the other day, 'cause this is my job, and the Storm are doing really, really, really bad. They're 6-24 right now, 6-24. So the league is up, actually. If you look at ticket sales and attendance across all the teams, it's up about 6%. The Storm's down about 6%. You don't have the luxury to sit there and stick to your values or whatever. No one's even asking you to bend your values. They're just asking you to leave teenagers alone.
Exactly.
And you can't do that. And so this was a sold-out game. What are the odds that the next one's going to be sold out? Unlikely.
Unlikely. As I say all the time, whenever there's a Storm game, I never have traffic problems. I got problems when it's a not-so-great attended Kraken game, right? I got problems for that. But now you've got Storm. They're not selling anything out. People aren't going to the game, and it seems like you are trying your very best to make sure they don't actually show up.
Hey, would you like to have a good time? You can't do it here.
Exactly. And you know what? I'm not going to take my daughter. I will only take my daughter when Sophie Cunningham and them come to town. And then I feel bad giving my money to the Storm. I might buy the tickets through the Fever. So I don't. Yeah, I know it's all going the same place. I know. Speaking of going to the same place, let's talk about what's happening in the Middle East. What's happening at Camp David? President Trump had a meeting with his entire cabinet today with updates on your gas prices, updates on everything else. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So the president took the cabinet to Camp David. I want to go to Camp David. Camp David looks like fun. We never wore suits at camp, though. That does look like a lot of fun out there at Camp David. Looks very exciting. But it was basically a review of how everything's going. And when you went around the table, there's a lot of things to remind the American people about how good things are going. Unfortunately, some of the economics are things that are overshadowing that. What I'm concerned about is the war in Iran, and I'm going to keep saying this until it actually happens. People are not going to like the war in Iran as long as their gas prices keep going up. And people do not understand global markets. You need to have a press conference with all the big gas, big oil companies in front of the White House. And you need these companies to say, our gas is fine. Here's how we're going to lower prices. You don't have to worry about the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know why they haven't done that yet. Then you need the military to come out. And you need the military to come out and say, you know how we stopped all those boats that were bringing drugs from Venezuela and all these other places? We're going to do the same thing to these boats in the Hormuz Strait so you don't have any supply problems in the Middle East anymore. Then you need your allies in the region in the Middle East to say, yeah, we're fine. We're not that worried about it. I mean, it's an issue, but we're going to take care of it. Then you need to actually finish the job in Iran. You actually need to take Karg Island. You need to do these kind of things. Until you do that, people are still going to be nervous. So while these press conferences are great and while these roundtables with the cabinet are great, the average person is going, if things are so great, why do I not feel like they're so great? And this was the same issue during the Biden administration. You need to calm people down. You need to chill people, the you-know-what, out. You got to calm them down, and that's how you're going to calm them down. I love that President Trump is having these because you see he's not Joe Biden and there's a hand on the wheel and that he's actually with it and he's sharp as opposed to Joe Biden who they said, well, behind closed doors, he's sharp and he's with it. Yeah, we know that President Trump is actually running the country. You really need to do those things to calm down the American public about the gas prices and everything else. These cabinet meetings are great, but that's how you actually solve things. Now, stuff like the Fauci stuff, oh, don't get me wrong. I want to see Fauci thrown in jail for the rest of his life. But the problem is it's a little bit of theater. After his disastrous hearing the other day where the GOP realized how dumb he would look and hit him with every question under the sun, which he would plead the fifth to, after every single one, now they're talking about can they actually prosecute Fauci. Well, now, according to Fox News, a House GOP proposal would bar Dr. Anthony Fauci from working for the federal government again after his dramatic hearing on Capitol Hill this week. Let's be real about a bill like this. How old is Fauci? What is he, 80 or something? So you feel real good about yourself that you barred him from working with the federal government ever again. His pension is $1 gajillion. He's been working for the U.S. government since the 1980s. He blew the response to AIDS. Don't forget, they want to lock us down then, too. Dr. Drew Pinsky, who was actually part of the team with Fauci about the response to AIDS, he went on the record and said they had considered lockdowns because they didn't know what was causing AIDS at the time. And then they quickly came to realize that if people are still going to the grocery stores, then you can't have a lockdown. You can never have a true lockdown, so what's the point of doing them? Fauci knew this, and he recommended them anyway. And he knew they weren't going to work, and he wrote so in his diary, and he recommended them anyway, most notably here in Washington State. In addition to that, Fauci is not going back to work for the government ever again. So this makes you feel good, but it doesn't actually accomplish anything. Republicans are now trying to make this thing happen where he never gets to work for the federal government again. Will it be embarrassing? Yes. Will it be a hit to his legacy? Absolutely. But does it actually accomplish anything? No. You could tell that Rand Paul and crew have been looking how they can legally get at Fauci. And what they're trying to do is trip him up in contempt of Congress or lying to Congress or not cooperating with a congressional investigation. That's what they're trying to do. Remember this clip from the other day with Senator Rand Paul?
But the attorneys are not recognized. In fact, the attorney was told not to sit at the table, and he's not obeying that recommendation. There's a row behind you, sir. That's where you were told to sit, and you're not. And now you're disrupting the proceedings. And so, look, this is the way Anthony Fauci wants to be remembered, for a lawyer not listening to the rules. That's the way you want to be remembered, and that's what you're going to do. You are not recognized, sir. Security, please remove him from the room.
It's fun. It's great kicking Fauci's attorney out of the room, and he still had 12 of them sitting behind him. You got to wonder how this guy made all this money working for government that he can afford to have that many attorneys with him. But what about the Fifth Amendment? He has a pardon, and then there's the Fifth Amendment. What's the legalese on this? Which one wins?
Have you refused this pardon, or do you have any reason to believe this full and unconditional pardon, this grant of immunity, would somehow require you to plead the Fifth Amendment?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Based on the facts presented, I'm going to direct you to answer the questions. The committee has issued a valid subpoena. They have requested your presence here. The questions are very pertinent to your decision-making as head of NIAID, as well as a chief advisor to the president. Do you still refuse to answer the questions?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
So we know what direction this is going. My question to everybody out there while you listen to this next clip is, do you want the Republicans to just move on, or do you want them to continue pushing this? Do you want to see Fauci in jail, or you want them to just move on and deal with the things that are happening right now? Here's what Senator Bernie Moreno said to him.
Mr. Fauci, do you know who David Schertler is?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. What does the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution say?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
No, I'm just asking you what it says.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
I'm going to give the Constitution to my aide. He'll bring it over to you so you can have it for future reference. I think it's something that every American should know what the Constitution says. Do you know who wrote the Fifth Amendment?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
So you're invoking a right that you don't know who wrote it or what it says. Is that correct?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Now, as much fun as that is, does he actually have the right to plead the Fifth after he's been given a pardon? Senator Josh Hawley very, very cleverly and very, very expertly explained the legal conundrum here.
Constitution.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more, Brown versus Walker, 1896, when he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyers sitting behind you now shifting nervously in their chairs. They know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people. But I think I know why you're doing it. It's because you don't want to answer questions. It's because you did all kinds of terrible things. It's because during the pandemic, you got rich, didn't you? You got rich while people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. And not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money to apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally. Cash prizes totaling over $1 million. You did all of that during the pandemic, didn't you? That's a question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Fauci was the highest paid government employee. Also, when you get a pardon, you do give up the right to plead the Fifth. Now, this is going to be for better legal minds than mine about how they proceed here. But the question is Fauci ever going to see the inside of a cell? Do you want him to see the inside of a cell? Do you just want all his assets seized? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Speaking of seizing assets, it seems like a whole bunch of lefty lunatics want to shut down the Blue Angels. Oh, it must mean Seafair's in town. I'll tell you about their latest insanity when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I'll tell you why I'm really mad at Katie Wilson, at Mayor Fivehead. It's Seafair weekend. It's like another holiday for me, and I got a lot of holidays. I love Seafair weekend. And today I want to take the boat out in the morning. I want to maybe go watch a little bit of the air show from the deck of my house before coming into the studio. But no, I got to go to a press conference because our mayor is such an incompetent moron that I got to go cover what's going on. You do realize if this had just been handled where you just had a press conference and told everybody there's a suspect on the loose, we're looking for him, or just had a press conference where you just updated people and we got more information, as opposed to saying we're waiting for dignitaries, we'd be talking about where's the suspect? Are we on the lookout for the suspect in Seafair, in South Seattle, which is where this kid's gang was from? Are we on the lookout for any of this stuff? And yet, that's not what we're talking about. I love Seafair. I'm one of those people. I bought the Blue Angels flag for my house. I'm one of those guys. I put up the Blue Angels flag when they fly over. Whenever they're flying, I don't leave the house. I stay there, or I get a better view for them if I'm going somewhere else, but I stay on my deck because I got a great view of the Blue Angels. I invite some people over. I barbecue. I love Seafair. I love Seafair. Every year, like clockwork, the crazies come out and want to cancel Seafair. So we already told you how the Seattle Times wants to get rid of the Blue Angels and the hydroplanes and all the fun and the air show. This is their editorial board, by the way, not some random lunatic who wrote letters to the Seattle Times, and replace it with, I kid you not, horseback riding. Because that'll go over big with the animal rights activists.
On the water?
Well, yes. It'll be like Aquaman riding those shrimp under the sea or whatever, the seahorses, right? That's what we're going to do, like the old Justice League cartoons. We'll do that. That's what it'll be. So, oh wait, the other one was orange fights. Yes, you throw oranges at each other. That was their other
On the
idea.
water?
Thank you, Zach. Very good.
Because if it's not Seafair, it's just fair.
There you go. I like that. Well, it's not fair for anybody. I mean, we're all about equality and equity. Now the Washington Physicians for Social Responsibility. You made that up. You made that up. That does not exist. That is not a real thing. Is calling on Seafair to make this the last year for the flight demonstration squadron, citing concerns about jet fumes impacting the climate and people's lungs. Okay, let's say you guys are serious about this. No problem. Are you protesting at SeaTac this weekend? Are you protesting at Boeing Field this weekend? Are you protesting at any of our local airports? How about this? Do you guys protest the climate gathering in Davos, Switzerland, where everybody takes their private jets to feel good about the climate? Are you asking Bob Ferguson not to fly around in his private airplane, which was Jay Inslee's private airplane before that? No. You guys hate America, you guys hate the military, and you hate fun. You hate fun. Seafair is fun.
Preach.
That's what I'm saying. Seafair's fun. Here's something else. Seafair's safe. I know Seafair's safe. They have metal detectors. I go every year. They have bag checks. They got metal detectors. Seafair, fun and safe. Take your families. I plan on going down there some point this weekend. I hope to see all of you down there because God bless America. God bless the Blue Angels. And you know what I say to these lunatics? The flyovers will continue until morale improves. That's right. Don't tell me you want to get rid of my Blue Angels. Ugh, it's just, what's your favorite thing about Seafair? My favorite thing about Seafair is the Blue Angels. I have shot glasses with the Blue Angels on. I buy all that stupid stuff in the shop.
Might as well poke the bear here. I grew up an hour away, so I've never been.
You've never been to Seafair?
Nope.
So whenever people say that to me, I don't go, how could you have never been to Seafair? Because I didn't know Seafair existed before I lived here. And you know what really upset me? Fleet Week in New York was not like it is now. The Blue Angels now go to Fleet Week in New York. They didn't used to come. They didn't used to be part of that. Seafair is really something where, you know what the problem is? You've been to so many festivals for KVI.
Barbecues, tailgates, fairs.
Right.
And festivals.
You've been to all that stuff. That's not going to be
a Toby Keith joke.
It shows what I know about country music. All that stuff. Yes, we know this. We all know. I don't do the country music, right? When you go down there, you're not going to be wowed by the festival part of it. The stuff on the water is a lot of fun. When they used to have the wakeboard competitions, that was a lot of fun. There's lots of things they do down there in the flyovers. The flyovers, when they used to bring all out the antique airplanes and everything else, it's so much fun. It really, really is. I'm looking forward to a great weekend. I really, really am. And I hope you guys are too. Up next, you know who's not looking forward to a great weekend? King County elections. Because they kind of admitted that illegal aliens are voting. And now the state is saying, nope, they don't know what they're talking about. But we've got the documentation. Talk about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. Coming up this hour on the most dangerous show on the airwaves, the president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild will be swinging by to tell us his reaction to the press conference with Katie Wilson today, the firing of Seattle Police Chief Sean Barnes, and so much more. But before we get to any of that, my friends, you remember earlier this week, we told you about this email that had resurfaced from King County Elections Director Julie Wise. Julie Wise, she's the head of King County Elections, she wrote this back in 2019. Before we do that, thank you, Zach. Before we do that, almost forgot about the word today. Let's do the word first. So, my friends, today is the last day where you can win a trip to the Grand Canyon in Arizona, my friends. Now, all you have to do is text the word I give you to the number I give you. Do not text your name. Do not text your address. Do not text your phone number. Do not text anything else except for the word. Text the word to the number I give you for your chance to win. Today's word is hawk, H-A-W-K, as in you may see a hawk while hiking the Grand Canyon. You might see a hawk flying over the Grand Canyon. Text the word hawk, H-A-W-K, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Okay, now back to King County Elections. King County Elections Director Julie Wise. Julie Wise wrote a note in 2019 which said, I want to take a minute to share some information about an issue that several stakeholders and partners have contacted us about. Voters who are not citizens getting inadvertently registered to vote at the Department of Licensing. How many times have we talked about this? How many times have we said that illegal aliens, because of motor voter laws, are getting automatically registered to vote? Well, apparently it's been going on since at least 2019. It's probably been going on longer than that. Now, this gets worse. Let me start by saying that I am also deeply concerned about this. Every year, we hear from a small number of voters who received a ballot because they accidentally got registered while getting a driver's license or Washington state ID. These voters are often absolutely terrified of the impact this could have for their immigration status or citizenship application, and rightly so. Of course, if we are hearing from 15 to 20, we know there are many more individuals out there who are not contacting us. Now, we did the story a couple days ago. And also, we did the story a few years ago because I got this email in a public disclosure request years ago. We know this has been going on for years and years and years. Well, now it's got a little bit of attention. According to our friends over at the Center Square, with early voting underway ahead of Washington State's August 4th primary, officials say they are working to ensure only legal citizens are registered. As of Monday, turnout in King County was just shy of 9%, while the final week typically brings a flood of ballots into county election offices across the state. King County Elections Communication Manager said we are projecting a 45% turnout for this primary. That's right in line with what we've seen in other even year primary elections. 11%, 45%, 9%. My friends, if you want to have a swing in the votes, this is where you show up. This is where you show up because they're on autopilot on the other side. They think those Republicans aren't going to show up. You know what? We're instituting a new rule, Zach. Here's the new rule we're going to do. I am going to ask any caller, if you call the show, we are going to ask if you turned in your ballot. After Election Day, if you say, I don't vote, it's rigged. I don't vote, it's fraud. I don't vote, it's that. You are not allowed on the show. That's what I'm going to do because you know what I'm tired of? I am tired of people calling up afterwards, oh, you know it's rigged, and you know the Democrats, it's rigged. And then I say, sir, always a sir, did you vote? And then they go, well, no, because it's rigged, yeah, no. If you do that, if you call the show, be prepared for that question. Be prepared for that question. Now, if you are not a citizen of the U.S. and you are calling up, you better say you're not a citizen of the U.S., right? You better say that. Anywho, said we see folks in primary elections, in particular, hold their ballots later than they do in November general election. But, of course, we want all voters to get their ballots in as soon as possible, make sure their vote can be counted. Now, given the revelations we've seen with all these illegal aliens like in New Jersey who are voting, the question is that happening here? And then you've got this. The Center Square asked King County if that's happening here. There is no evidence here in King County that there is some mass number of non-citizens who are on the voter registration rolls. Can we back up a second here? Monday, July 26th, right here, Friday, October 25th. This is the date of the email. 2019, from Julie Wise, concerning voter registration. Dear Voter Education and Fund partners, I would like to take a minute to share some information about an issue that several stakeholders and partners have contacted us about. Voters who are not citizens getting inadvertently registered to vote. Skip forward, skip forward, skip forward. If we are hearing this from 15 to 20, we know there are many more individuals who are not contacting us. Wait, what was their statement again? There is no evidence here in King County that there is some mass number of non-citizens who are on the voter registration rolls. What we have seen is folks do occasionally get inadvertently registered via the Department of Licensing. Hang on. What's the date on this article here where they did this interview? July 28th, 2026. What's the date on the letter here? Friday, October 5th, 2019. This has been going on for 7 years. 7 years. Same problem. Hasn't been fixed. It's been happening for years, and now they say, nope, not happening. Non-issue. Not a problem. That's a conspiracy theory. They literally said it's a problem. They literally said it happens. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? See
your previous memo.
Thank you. The memo Zach keeps referring to. Zach had a clever idea that I make a KVI letterhead and put it up on social media that says, told you so, about Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson. So now we're just going to say, see previous memo for everything I've been warning about for years and years and years. Like, for example, didn't I say Sean Barnes was a boob when he was hired? Didn't I say he was a fool when he was hired?
Hapless may have been thrown about.
The hapless, I don't use the word hapless. Incompetent buffoon, I definitely said that. Moron, I definitely said that. DEI hire, definitely said that more than once.
Sorry, I dignify him with hapless.
Yes, sorry, dude, that's just too nice. I'm sorry, two things can be true at once. He's the fall guy and he's a moron. By the way, I can't believe the reaction that's gotten online. You know what we should do? We should start a little fun. You know the city council's all up in arms about Sean Barnes and all that? I think we should start a petition for Katie Wilson to step down and Joy Hollingsworth to become mayor of Seattle. Now, when Ed Murray got scooted out the door because of his sex pest problems, what happened was Bruce Harrell was mayor for 5-6 days, and then he's like, this is great. I should really run for mayor. I could run for mayor. Speaking of hapless boobs. Sorry, did I say DEI? Sorry, which I don't remember which terms. It's just, it runs the gamut here in Washington. I don't get it. By the way, why do we keep bringing in people from Chicago to run the policing here? Is the policing so good in Chicago? Well, they have 50 people shot to death last weekend?
They're well-versed in how to handle shootings.
Well, they're well-versed in how to clean up blood. I don't think they actually track anybody down. If they actually track people down, I think they'd have a lot less shootings. We'll come back to this later. Back to taxes. Taxes. This one here from the Washington Policy Center, they're talking about an increase to sales tax in Seattle. The city's website claims the tax will cover a median two-person household of only $58 per year. However, the Washington Policy Center says that when they divide the $138 million by Seattle's 393,000 households, the average comes out to $351 per year. Over the 10 years the tax would be in effect, that means each household is paying $3,500 over the next 10 years. For the train, for the choo-choo train that may never actually go anywhere. This is from the Washington Policy Center. City Council has voted to place a 0.3% sales tax on the November ballot, doubling the 0.15% tax that is due to expire in April of 2027. If voters approve the tax, it'll generate about $138 million a year to subsidize Metro bus service in the city. Speaking of buses, I think we need Metro buses. You know why? So Katie Wilson can keep throwing people in front of them. I think we need to make sure the bus service is up to date and running as efficiently as possible. Katie Wilson got a lot more people she can fire before she gets ousted. Yeah. Metro already receives $650 million per year from a county-wide sales tax, plus state and federal grants and fare revenue that brings the total to well over $1 billion per year. The city's website claims that the tax will cost the median two-person household only $58 per year. However, when you divide the $138 million by Seattle's residents, the average comes out to $351, which over 10 years is $3,500. The increase would bring the total sales tax in Seattle to 10.8%, the highest sales tax rate in any major U.S. city. I love how the left is always saying, these taxes are so regressive, we should get rid of them. Quick, raise the taxes. That's always what they're... Do you really think... I love this other lie they tell, too. Well, if we pass a big income tax on the wealthy, then we can lower all these other little taxes. Uh-huh. If you believe that, I've got 5 fighter planes that are sitting down at Boeing Field right now. They're blue and yellow. I will sell them to you and add in a spare that goes with them and a cargo plane that goes with them.
You can put them on the hangar on the oceanfront property I have in Arizona.
Oh, excellent. There we go.
George Strait joke.
I got you. That one I got.
All
I
right.
was with you. Oh, you weren't doing the Top Gun Maverick joke? Okay, I'm with you. You weren't doing the Dirk Pitt joke from the Clive Cussler books? Okay, these are all the people of hangars. Okay, anywho. Yes, I will sell it to you for a low, low price right now. If you believe the Democrats would ever lower taxes in any meaningful way, I will sell you the Blue Angels today. I own a piece of those suckers. My tax dollars pay for them, right? Yes? No? No, I'm not allowed to sell them? Bummer. Anywho. Continuing on, they keep saying they're trying to make life more affordable, and yet they're about to make things less affordable. Now, what I find entertaining about all this is that now Sound Transit and Metro are desperately trying to justify their existence. Because what happened, even the left is turning on them. Even all the transit activists are turning on them. Because the transit activists are saying, you promised us a train to Ballard. We've been paying taxes on that train going out to Ballard for years. And now you're saying no train to Ballard? So when they built the light rail, they did it very stupidly. Let's take South Seattle. A lot of you
could have
have
stopped
this.
there.
Well, so true, so true. But let's do one level of stupid. By the way, why can't they get an escalator contractor who could just keep those things running? Is it the urine from the homeless? Does it erode the guts of the escalator? Is that what it is? Is it something else? Anywho, where I live in Seattle, Graham, MLK, major artery, major intersection. That's where everybody goes. That ain't where they put a light rail stop. They didn't put it anywhere near there. So now they're giving you little pieces. As opposed to going out to Ballard, hey, we know we're not going to Ballard, but you Ballard people, if you ever go to South Seattle, we're going to give you that Graham station you always wanted. And the people around there are like, okay, why is that satisfactory to all of us? So people in Ballard, rightfully so, are saying we've been paying all these taxes and we're not going to get a train. Now, all of a sudden, on the eve of these elections that are going to fund transit, don't you know, Como News has that Sound Transit is announcing the full Ballard link extension to Market Street could open by 2042 if the agency meets a series of financial and project milestones over the next 7 years. Thank you, Zach. Extremely accurate. You think they're going to hit any of those targets? Of course not. Financial targets, financial responsibility, these guys don't know what those words mean. They don't know what that means, but they know there's an election coming up and transit is on the ballot. The funny thing is, Sound Transit isn't on the ballot. Metro's on the ballot, but they're trying to get the Metro across because they know you're going to say, transit, screw that noise. Look what they just screwed us with these taxes. I'm not getting my train line. And they're worried about people voting against it. That's why they released something like this, because going back to our earlier story, most of the ballots are not in yet. And because most of the ballots are not in yet, they're worried about the people at home going, okay, I don't want to pay for this train no more, and that's going to affect the bus service. So this is the last big weekend where people are sitting at home and going, oh, right, I got to fill out that ballot. Like, for example, me. Usually I'm pretty more on the ball about my ballot. This year I don't want to fill it out. I will. I don't want to fill it out. You know why? A lot of people in my neighborhood, they go, Ari, we're looking at your voter's guide at KVI.com, and you barely recommended or endorsed anybody in our area, in the neighborhood you live in. Why is that? And I said, because Jimothy would be a better option than most of the people running in my area. He seems rather spry.
He'd get the disabled vote.
Bad sack. Funny. Very good. Very, very good. So, anywho, there are such poor candidates on the ballot. And then I get the people who are asking, why aren't the initiatives on the ballot? The initiatives will be on the general ballot. By the way, anything that's a levy or a tax on your ballot, you vote no on. Vote no on all of them this time. The only time you're going to be voting yes on anything is in the general election. We're not up to that yet right now. This is the primary election. This is the primary election.
Vote no or you'll pay mo.
I like that, Zach. We should actually put that on everything. So if you haven't seen my voter's guide yet, head on over to kvi.com right now. Check out my voter's guide. It's up there. If I don't have a recommendation in a race, it's because I haven't dug into a race, or it's because I really don't like anybody in that race. You can head on over to your county GOP website and see who they're endorsing, because maybe they have somebody they like in the race. But I really don't like a lot of these candidates that I'm seeing on the ballot, which really comes back to all of you. It comes back to the fact of, guys, do you want to keep dealing with what we're dealing with? You have a unique opportunity here. And here's for all the candidates that listen to my show, too. You should be running against Katie Wilson. And all of you say, but Ari, I don't live in Seattle. But Ari, she's not in my race. She's not up for re-election. I know. You say, do you really want to roll the dice with a socialist like Katie Wilson? Do you really want a Democratic socialist like Katie Wilson running this district? Do you really want an incompetent buffoon like Katie Wilson in office here? That'll actually resonate with a lot of people, because she's become a national joke. A national joke. I'm telling you, my friends, this is a time you can turn it around. And for all of you who say it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged, well, let me tell you something. Democrats think so too. Democrats want voter ID. This is an 80-20 issue. In fact, even CNN is admitting that the American people want voter ID.
We're talking about voters favoring voter ID to vote. Among all voters, we're talking 77%. And this is uniform, basically, or universal, I should say. Universal. Democrats, 62%. Independents, 77%. Republicans, 95%. This is something that is popular across the political spectrum. It is a rare thing that is popular across the political spectrum. When it comes to voter ID, the voters are with President Trump on this, whether they're Democrats, independents, or Republicans. Overall, very clear. We're talking about 3 in 4 overall who support the idea of photo ID in order to vote.
Yes, this is an 80-20 issue. An 80-20 issue. People like Katie Wilson from the Democrat Socialists of America, they have some insane ideas. We've played them for you on the show before. Democrats are ashamed of them. Democrats will run away from them. If you are running for office or you are working on a candidate's campaign, you make your opponent look like a DSA member. Odds are they are a DSA member. Because all the Democrats are saying, oh, we just want to be in the Big Tent. You challenge them on the DSA. And they will reveal who they are. Like Chuck Schumer. Just the other day, Chuck Schumer was asked about the DSA. This is a guy who the DSA says they're coming for his job. They want him out of office, and he's so trying to hang on to power, he won't condemn them.
The Democratic Socialists of America recently released their new platform. One of the things in that platform is to abolish the Senate and create a new unicameral House in Congress. Is this something Democratic Socialist candidates have been winning in races across the country? Is this something that has a place, this type of policy position?
The bottom line is Democrats from one end of the spectrum to the other are going to be working to defeat Trump, to bring down costs, to go after his corruption, and to end the chaos.
And you know what you say right after that? You're not running against Donald Trump. You're running locally. You don't get to impact anything Trump is doing. Do you agree with the socialist? Do you not agree with the socialist? Jeanette says over on the text line, what will it take to recall Katie Wilson, or is that even possible? You know, Jeanette, that is a great question. And I'm going to tell you something. It's going to take more time than I have in this segment right now. But at 5 o'clock today, I actually have prepared how to recall Katie Wilson if we can actually do it legally. So, Jeanette, make sure you are listening at 5 o'clock, and I will run that whole thing for you so that way you have your answer. When we come back right now, my friends, your gas prices, the Middle East, Camp David, how is all this actually going to affect you? We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, every single weekday from 6 to 7 p.m., you get the Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded. Maybe some things you missed, more content, but that's from 6 to 7 p.m. every single weekday, brought to you by our friends over at Wade's East Side Guns. In fact, I am looking forward to heading out there this weekend to do some shooting. My son comes back from Israel and he says, "Hey, Dad, can we go to the range?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely." And then his friend goes, "Wait, Mr. Hoffman, you're big into guns?" He's got a friend in for the weekend. I go, "Yeah, I'm big into guns." And he goes, "Oh, we're going to go shooting?" I'm like, "Yes, we're going shooting." So this weekend, hopefully, I'll be out at Wade's Eastside Guns trying out the range. I'm very, very excited to head out there. Very, very excited about this partnership as well. Well, Camp David today. So we had another one of these roundtable cabinet meetings where everybody's reporting on how things are going. So Marco Rubio's part was the most interesting. Everything else we've heard a bunch of times before, but what's happening internationally is the stuff we really care about. The SAVE Act and what's happening internationally is what everybody's really paying attention to out of these right now. We know that Zoran Mamdani made this whole thing about wanting to arrest Bibi Netanyahu for the International Criminal Court. The International Criminal Court, run by the UN, it's corrupt as you know what. They want to arrest Trump. They want to arrest anybody who's in his cabinet. They want to arrest anybody who's not a leftist. That's what they want, all these people at The Hague. That's what they want. So, of course, they don't like Jews. They don't like Bibi Netanyahu. And they issued this arrest warrant for Bibi Netanyahu and members of the Israeli government for fighting back against terrorists. Okay. So Marco Rubio today was talking about how corrupt the International Criminal Court actually is. Give a lesson.
So just a couple points that we all know. We followed in the news, obviously, the events in the Middle East, and others here can talk about that. Not that they're not important, but there's some other issues happening around the world, Mr. President, that you've shown great leadership in that have not gotten nearly as much attention. I think they deserve to mention today. The first is the International Criminal Court is an illegitimate international organization that, frankly, illegitimate. They've made themselves illegitimate because they claim that even if you're not a member of that court, they can come after you. What that literally means in the future is that American servicemen, political leaders, and others could find themselves under indictment by this International Criminal Court. If you want to know a little bit about it, Jack Smith used to work there. These are the people that think they can go out and basically indict any world leader and haul them into The Hague. So we tried to get them to reform and listen to us. They wouldn't do it. They're very arrogant. We've now begun an effort to really try to bring that court to heel.
By the way, there's no information that they're after me. It could happen. But just so you know, because she's talking about it, I'm saying that means that maybe he's not trying to defend me. He is trying to defend Bibi and various other people. But there are many people that shouldn't be looked at that way. But there is no indication that I'm one of them at this moment.
That's right. No, and I actually think the people who are in biggest danger in our system are servicemen, people in uniform. That they'll try to go out for the rest of their lives, will not be able to travel anywhere in the world with their families because they can be arrested on one of these acts. Imagine, again, you're a soldier, you fought in a war, and 20 years later they try to come grab you. So this is a big problem. So we've had dozens of countries already join us in this effort. Since we started 2 weeks ago, 5 countries have already quit the ICC and notified them that they're leaving, and we think there'll be more. The second thing is we had an unprecedented ministerial. 60 countries came to Washington and were a part of an effort where we were shedding light on far-left terrorism and violence. You know, the bomb goes off somewhere and it's tied to some right-wing group or what I don't consider neo-Nazis right-wing, I consider them Nazis, right? But you're going to get a lot of attention on that. But if it's a leftist group, an Antifa group, that gets no coverage, or they ignore the ideological spin and the ideological reason behind it. So we got 60 countries came up here and hopefully creating a strong to go after far-left violent terrorism and go after it, call it by name, and I think we're building a very strong coalition there.
So those are 2 very important points. Antifa is not something that just exists in Seattle. Antifa is not just something that exists in Portland. Antifa is in Europe. Why do you think they like soccer so much? It used to be you just had the soccer hooligans, from England or Ireland or whatever else it was. Antifa is part of that now. When you go to a Sounders game, the amount of Antifa flags you see at those events, that's their game. They like this stuff. Working with international partners to cut down on Antifa. A lot of the big Antifa guys, when the Trump administration started cracking down on these violent protests, notice you're not seeing as many of them because a lot of the instigators fled to Europe. People who are wanted here in the U.S. fled to Europe because there is that tie with Antifa. So this is great news. This is huge news. And then getting back to the International Criminal Court. Imagine you're one of our listeners that served in the first Gulf War. And now some country wants to go after you claiming there were war crimes. Or you served in the war in Afghanistan. They want to go after you for war crimes. They want to go after you for any of that because they don't like the war. And then they try to haul you in front of The Hague. That is what the International Criminal Court does. They don't like that you're fighting against terrorists because a lot of the terrorists are the ones on the Human Rights Commission at the UN. My son right now is in the Israeli army. My son works as an armorer. He doesn't do combat. In fact, he just got transferred to diplomatic posting. But just because he wears the uniform, there are countries he can't go to now because he served in the Israeli army. Do you want that happening with the U.S. military as well? Yet another reason we should have nothing to do with the International Criminal Court, and we should defund the UN because they want to go after our brave men and women, and they want to try to arrest them. So you decide to take a European cruise or a European vacation with your spouse. And now some of these countries, they might try to arrest you. You want to go to Australia, you want to go to South Africa. They may try to arrest you because you served in the U.S. Armed Forces. That's what they're trying to stop. A lot of people trying to stop Katie Wilson. When we come back, my friends, Seattle Police Officers Guild president will be joining us. He was at that press conference today, too, and I'm sure he's got stories. That, and it was a gajillion degrees in that room. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. Maybe it was to make it look like everybody else was sweating, not just Katie Wilson. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, it was a really, really exciting day at City Hall today. We want to thank our friends over at Renewal by Anderson, Western Washington Windows and Doors for Every Home, for sponsoring our Newsmaker segment. Joining us now to discuss the presser at City Hall, the president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild, Kent Liu. Kent, we don't normally have a guest back 2 days after we had him the first time, but you were in that room today. Am I exaggerating, or was it just a gajillion degrees in that room today, man?
It was pretty warm. It was very packed. I think a lot of people were just waiting to hear what was to be said.
Now, you guys came out with a very, very strong statement after Seattle Police Chief Sean Barnes was fired/resigned by Katie Wilson. Give us the crux of that, please.
Essentially, it's mismanagement. We go from, Sunday to that tragic event at the Seattle Center, where, we dealt with what we had to deal with there, to kind of a mismanaged press conference after to inform the public. That's Sunday night. And then here we are Wednesday evening with rumors floating around about Barnes being fired. All of Thursday, that essentially runs for nearly, I think, 24 hours or so to find we don't know anything. So it just kind of compounds, and there's this pattern of a communications problem. So really what that post was is about just kind of this mishandling, this mismanagement, and where's the leadership here?
Yeah, I completely agree. Also, something else is that, does it seem to you the same way it seems to me? She keeps trying to blame SPD without blaming SPD, while trying to blame SPD, while saying it was communications. And meanwhile, I was at that press conference on Sunday night waiting the hours for it to actually happen. And SPD kept telling us, well, look, we're waiting on these dignitaries. And as you and I have discussed before, that's not a word they use. Does it seem like she's trying to blame SPD for the communications breakdown?
It seems like they're blaming SPD, except for this small piece that the mayor's office is owning. Right? Gotcha. So it's like in totality, it's just like, well, all I can speak to is this.
Mm-hmm.
And then it seems like the rest of it seems like it's an SPD problem.
Yeah, and the thing that doesn't make sense to me, we've had other tragedies, we've had other crises. The only thing that's really new, and Sean Barnes has been the police chief through some of them, the only thing that really seems to be new is this is the first one we've had where she's been the mayor. So if there's a breakdown, the system was working fine before, why is it not working now? That seems to be the most obvious way to say, yeah, it's something going wrong in your office. Also, last time I checked, she doesn't have a communications director right now. The job is available online. You want to make $272,000 a year, you can apply right now. And I think she'll welcome the help. But that seems to me to be the fly in the ointment rather than anything else.
Well, it is the common denominator, and I think that goes back to the post that Seattle Police Officers Guild made. And essentially, there's a pattern here. We just, we're Wednesday evening going into Thursday, all Thursday during the day. Well, there's a communication problem. There was just one on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's a common theme here. Apparently that communications director spot is really integral.
Yeah, seems like it is. We're talking with Kent Liu, who's the president of Seattle Police Officers Guild. Now, something funny happened towards the end of that press conference today. It looked like Katie Wilson's staff was trying to wrap it up as soon as they possibly could so that people like me wouldn't get to ask questions. And I noticed that at one point, it seemed like SPD thought the press conference was over and started leaving while she's still answering questions. Then she's very quickly trying to leave with them. Was there a time limit put on this thing? Or was it a, hey, here's going to be the last thing and we're out of here? Was it a, we don't want to be up here? What was going on?
Well, I don't know about a time limit. I think that, the mayor kind of hung around a little bit, right, to kind of answer that one last question, thinking it was going to be quick. And I think it was maybe more of, her staff's part of like, okay, we need to end this. So I don't know. I mean, it just seems like because I think they sensed that the answers that were being provided were just not satisfying much of the media, right? So it's like we're going to be here for hours. We better just cut this. Right? We've got to kind of end this.
Yeah. So when I'm not the most passionate guy in the room, and the people who are now the ones yelling at the mayor are the mainstream media, I think you got a serious problem. We're talking with Kent Liu, who's the president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild. Explain to us how your politics work, because you have to negotiate contracts with the mayor's office, yet you guys are being very outspoken about her leadership, especially since she fired the police chief or / asked him to resign. Do you think that the council and SPOG and everybody else are on the same page for the first time ever in history, and it's all against Katie Wilson?
I do sense that. I looking at going from between, say, let's say Sunday and Wednesday, okay, when it was kind of rumored that Sean Barnes was out or going to be out or something like that. He had that outburst with a reporter, which hurt him. I think in that time span, that really helped the mayor's office because that distracted a lot of the press and the media from the press conference.
Gotcha.
So now that we've now named an interim chief, which I support Andre Sales. Now I think what's going to happen, though, is you've pulled now that attention away from the Seattle Police Department a little bit, and I think it all goes back to the mayor's office. And as you saw from today, those answers were not satisfying them, the media.
No, they were not. I mean, let me do a little quick math for you. So Heather Bosch was sitting next to me. Jeremy Harris was sitting behind me, but somebody was sitting next to him, and then Chris Daniels was next to him on the other side. So in my general area, 4 reporters didn't get to ask questions in my area. I know there were other reporters in the room who didn't get to ask questions, and then they didn't get any real answers to any of their questions. And I kind of wonder if they just turned up the heat in that room so all of us would want to leave faster.
I mean, that would be an interesting strategy, but I just from being in that room, I mean, right, they were not satisfied. And then as it kind of got towards the end, people were getting more vocal, more emotional, right, in reaction to her answers.
Yeah.
This is not going to quench down for her. And I think that this is, again, just kind of the beginning, right? You've had Sunday's press conference. Then you had this lull, this in between of like, okay, all the attention's on Barnes and the police chief. Well, now you've kind of removed that piece, and now I think it's all going to go back to the mayor's office.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. We're talking with Kent Liu, who's the president of Seattle Police Officers Guild. Switching gears for a minute, some of the biggest revelations of today's press conference came from the Seattle Police Department itself. So the new interim chief, Chief Sales, says now he confirmed we're looking for multiple subjects. Does that mean 2? Does that mean 3? Do we know who we're looking for? And he said he wouldn't give out their description because he doesn't want everybody looking for the wrong guy, but then said he thinks they know who the people are. So there's a lot of contradictory statements there. Can you give us some insight about how these things work at the Seattle Police Department? Because, look, Seafair is happening in South Seattle this weekend, and South Seattle is where a lot of the gang activity is. Thank God we've never had an issue with that happening at Seafair, but people are, of course, concerned. So multiple subjects. Do you think we're going to be hearing about an arrest? Seattle police released a video today showing some stuff from the shooting itself. It basically shows the arrest of one suspect and the cops treating people. Can you give us some insight into what was going on with all this today?
Well, I intentionally stay away from the investigators for stuff like this because I don't want to learn something that I shouldn't share. Right. So I kind of learn about everything in the same manner. I think they're being very careful. After this happened, what's funny is I put pressure on the mayor for, the cameras. And we turn those on for FIFA. And then after FIFA's done, we turn them off. And now at the press conference for this shooting, we kind of go back to the mayor saying, well, we're looking through cameras. I thought you hated cameras.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously you're admitting now that they are helpful and you should have them. But anyway, the point is that I think that there's ultimately more work for investigators to do. And I think what Interim Chief Sales is saying is there's essentially a lot more work to do because investigators have to kind of piece together a lot more things than maybe they would do if they had, I don't know, RTCC cameras.
Yeah, I agree.
Online. So I think there's just more work, right? There's just more work to do. And, this is not as clear probably to them as, simply releasing like an RTCC footage of the suspect who, assaulted the 77-year-old man on 3rd Avenue, right, as an example.
Right. And in fact,
so there's just probably more going on that they need to figure out.
Right. The Seattle Police Department,
sure.
Right now, if you go to Seattle Police Department's blotter website, they're actually asking anybody who has a bite of Seattle to upload any video you think might be helpful. You can upload it right there. You can do it anonymously if you don't want anybody knowing who you are or anything like that, but you can upload the video over there. They can conceal your identity if you're worried about this tracing back to you. But head over to the Seattle Police Department's blotter website or the Seattle Police Department's website, and you can upload footage if you're at Bite of Seattle, you think you may have seen something. Kent Liu, president of Seattle Police Officers Guild, God bless you. God bless all the brave men and women of the police department. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks, Ari.
Yep, such a pleasure, man. Have a wonderful weekend. When we come back, my friends, if you're not going to Seafair this weekend, Spider-Man is in theaters. Going to give you all the details about the latest Spider-Man movie because I went to check it out. You'll hear my review coming up next. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Young Zach and I were apparently in the same press screening of the Spider-Man movie, and I was so out of it from doing the show that I had no idea he was there, even though he was desperately trying to get my attention because I'm that much fun and so cool that Zach wanted to let me know I was there, and apparently I was in my own little world, not even realizing he was there.
Might be somewhat of an exaggeration.
Okay, fine. But Zach was trying to get my attention. That's how out of it I was that day. Anywho, so we went to see the new Spider-Man movie, and I'll just give you my summary of this. If you like the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, then you're going to like this because now he's Spider-Man. He's not an Iron Man shadow anymore. He doesn't need anybody else's help. He's not baby Spider-Man. But you're also going to have some reservations. For example, Daily Bugle. The whole thing is the Daily Bugle hates the Spider-Man, and that's his day job. Clark Kent, Superman, that kind of thing. He works as a photographer for the Daily Bugle for J. Jonah Jameson. No J. Jonah Jameson, no Daily Bugle. He just lives in his own little apartment because in the last movie, everybody forgot who Spider-Man was because of a spell from Doctor Strange. So nobody knows who Spider-Man is, and it's him dealing with the fact that his friends don't remember him, that nobody in his life remembers him, that anybody who did remember him is dead. That's what you're seeing. My problem with this movie is the action was great. The bad guys are great. The cameos are not overdone. I think they're all appropriate. They're not throwing them all at you. None of that alternate universe nonsense that we're kind of all getting tired of. I think the problem for me is I don't want to see Spider-Man in therapy. And by that, I mean, he's not actually sitting in therapy, but the whole movie's like, oh, my friends don't remember me. And It's sad. I don't need a whole movie focused on that. I just don't. These little crisis of whatever. Look, Tobey Maguire did this in the second movie. And then, what's his face? The other Spider-Man. Exactly, Spider-Man number 3. The other Spider-Man does it in the second Amazing Spider-Man movie, the always crying Spider-Man. Well, Tom Holland hasn't really done that yet. That's now in this one. So, you're going to go see it if you like the Spider-Man. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a fine movie. I think it's a good standalone Spider-Man movie. I think the action is great. I think all that's fun. I just don't like Peter Parker. The Peter Parker stuff was bothering me. The Spider-Man stuff was great. Peter Parker stuff was kind of getting to me. Zach, you were there. What'd you think of this?
I liked it because I have tuned out from the Marvel Cinematic Universe for quite some time. To be honest, I'll level with you right here on the radio. I haven't seen Endgame. I haven't seen Infinity War. Which one comes first? Couldn't tell you. Haven't paid attention. It's too much. It's too much. I used to love the Marvel movies, like the original Iron Man and stuff like that, where it was all standalone. And then once in a while, they'd connect the dot to another movie, and he'd say, hey, that's fun. And then he got way too involved. And I just don't have the time or the capacity with the Gen Z attention span to deal with that.
Yes.
So I went to this movie, admittedly having not seen any of the prior Tom Holland Spider-Man, and I was a little nervous about that. But if you haven't seen any, you catch up quick. I mean, you gave us the background needed that I should have had going in, and it was pretty easy to get up to speed. So I appreciated that it didn't lean too heavy into cameos, didn't go into these alternate universes, didn't depend on you having seen every miniseries and Disney Plus special and every possible MCU piece that's been put out in the last decade to understand this movie. It very much felt like back to basics, standalone Marvel movie.
I will say this, is that my brother-in-law came with me and he goes, dude, I don't remember if I saw any of the Spider-Man movies. And I go, I'm sure you won't have it. He had like 2 or 3 questions. Basically, all you need to know if you haven't seen the other Spider-Man movies, at the end of the last Spider-Man movie, Doctor Strange makes everybody in the world forget that Tom Holland or that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And his friends forget that he ever existed. That's all you need to know going into this movie, and you figure it out quick that nobody remembers who he is. I will say this, though, with regard to the Spider-Man movie, is that I was still, even though I kind of have cape fatigue and I'm kind of tired of the Marvel movies and everything else, Zach mentioned to me during the break when we were discussing what we were going to say here a little bit, he mentioned the gasp in the theater. There is one cameo when you find out who somebody is where everybody went, like that. The fact that a Marvel movie, what are we, 15 years into this or something, that still all us giant nerds can do that at one of these movies, even when I'm a little burned out from it, yeah, it's got some juice in the tank. It really, really does. I think it was fun. I think it was great. I think everybody's good in it. I think the bad guys are good. I like everything about it. I think the CGI, you know what? All these movies are filled with CGI these days. It's not a big deal. The one thing that was missing for me is that if you're going to do a Peter Parker, heavy on the Peter Parker, and all his stuff, not having the Daily Bugle, not having J. Jonah Jameson, and you're just wondering how Spider-Man affords to just be Spider-Man all the time, kind of wonder where his money comes from. I start having questions like that. Maybe I'm a huge nerd, but the movie was good. I really, really like it, and it was very true to the comic books. There's a lot of very true to the comic books with the bad guys. There's montages of all the bad guys he's been fighting all year. There's a lot to really, really like in this Spider-Man. Now, the question is, are they going to continue making these? As long as the money keeps churning, they are going to keep making these movies. So Spider-Man is in theaters this weekend. It's starring Tom Holland and, of course, Zendaya, his wife. I don't even know how you pronounce those movies. So hopefully she doesn't forget about him in real life. But yes, the movie is out in theaters this weekend. So if you're not going to Seafair, go check out Spider-Man. If you're not able to see it this weekend and you don't plan on going to the theaters, it will look good on a big TV. I recommend not watching it on your phone. This is not a phone movie. This is a movie you actually want to see in the theaters or on your giant TV in your basement. Up next, my friends, more developments regarding Katie Wilson's latest disastrous press conference, which was earlier today, which I happened to go to. Tell you stories from inside the room when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free-for-all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. Coming up this hour on the most dangerous show on the airwaves. Looks like the Seattle Storm are not getting out of crazy waters anytime soon. Okay, that wasn't that great, but I tried. But also, question is that I have for all of you is how much longer is Katie Wilson going to be mayor of Seattle? Okay, this is a real question. Joy Hollingsworth is president of the Seattle City Council. We like Joy Hollingsworth. She comes on the show anytime we ask her. But more so than that, you know what I like about Joy Hollingsworth? I disagree with a lot of stuff that Joy Hollingsworth does. You're not going to get a Republican mayor of Seattle. Sorry, guys. Just break it to you. Joy Hollingsworth shows up. She shows up when there's a problem. She shows up every single time. She shows up. So she was asked about Katie Wilson. You know what was interesting today? Yesterday, statements come out from every single Seattle council member, every single one. And they're all bashing Katie Wilson for firing Chief Barnes because she didn't talk to any of them. She didn't get buy-in from any of them. Today, when everybody was asking why she fired the chief, she said, well, I'm going to keep that between us. Private, 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 private. Now, look, she fired him because she needs a fall guy for the shooting. And two things can be true at once, as I said yesterday. One, Barnes was incompetent. He was a DEI hire. He was not very good at his job. He was always flying back and forth to Chicago. He's an idiot. But he's also the fall guy. Katie Wilson needed a scapegoat, and the fact that this dude was never in town was an easy one, so she fired him or / asked him to resign. I don't think she really had cause. Plus, you're also firing him in the middle of the investigation. Plus, you're also getting rid of him when you have a big festival this weekend. Really sends the wrong message. Now, the city council has been very critical of her. And today, when I was in the press briefing room regarding her press conference, you know what the first thing I noticed? So when they say, okay, here goes the press conference, when they say they're getting ready to start, you always see who's with the mayor. She brought the SPD command staff with her. No city council. Normally, you have the head of the safety committee or whatever it is. You have a couple of them up there. None of them were there today. None of them. Because they've been bashing her. Absolutely bashing her. They've been calling her incompetent, not up to the job. Councilmember Maritza Rivera released a statement. It's been 24 hours since rumors started swirling about the firing of Chief Barnes. We have not heard one word from Mayor Wilson. This is unacceptable. If true, the impulsive and reckless decision to fire Chief Sean Barnes is the latest in a series of missteps, including her inadequate response to serious gun violence in our city. Her lack of experience and her incompetence have led to poor decision-making and put the safety of our communities at risk. It doesn't get any clearer than that. I'm not even a fan of Councilmember Maritza Rivera, but that's harsh. That's super harsh. Councilmember Deborah Juarez said something similar.
People of Seattle want confidence in their mayor. And right now, I don't know if the people of Seattle have confidence in the mayor. I have confidence in Chief Barnes. I do not have confidence in this administration.
Now, mind you, I didn't have confidence in Chief Barnes. I don't have confidence in Deborah Juarez. I know she's been there the longest, but she's not a good council member. She's a terrible council member, as anybody in her district can tell you. Now, contrast that with Joy Hollingsworth. If you get rid of the mayor, usually the Seattle City Council president steps into that role until you get a new mayor, have elections, whatever the case may be. So here's Joy Hollingsworth yesterday.
We have a big weekend coming up. We have to worry about residents and their safety, people to know that we are a safe harbor as a city, that we can be able to communicate effectively, that we know how to send out text alerts with Office of Emergency Management, that we can be able to have communication amongst departments when something like this happens. And so that's what I'm most concerned about, is to make sure that residents know that the city is working collaboratively and we can be able to move forward effectively.
So she's talking about Seafair. Seafair is this weekend in South Seattle, big festival, tens of thousands of people come down for Seafair. You know what Seafair has that Biden Seattle doesn't?
That's not important right now.
Sorry? Oh,
that's not important right now.
You know what Seafair has that other places don't have, that like Biden Seattle doesn't have? Metal detectors. Seafair had metal detectors, and guess what? Biden Seattle didn't have metal detectors. They have bag searches. They have other things. And yet Biden Seattle didn't have any of that. That's number one. Number two, a relative of mine called me. Seafair happens in my neighborhood, right? So Seafair is right around there. But the traffic is really, really bad because they've sent so many cops down there and so much emergency management because they're trying to make sure nothing happens. Can you imagine if God forbid, look, my kids are down there right now. They're all hanging out with their friends because they just got back from camp and stuff. But, you know, you go down to Seafair and something happens today, Katie Wilson will be fired on Monday. The city council will call for her firing. Now, here's the thing. How do you get rid of Katie Wilson? How do you get rid of Katie Wilson? Here's the real question that a lot of people have been asking me. So I cracked open the Seattle Charter. And I'm trying to figure out how exactly you get rid of a mayor. Well, the most obvious way to get rid of a mayor is through a recall process. Recall process takes time. But also a recall process, you have to get approved by a judge, and you need something illegal to have happened that the judge will sign off on it. Being an idiot isn't illegal, or a lot more people would be in jail, especially here in Seattle. So, just because she's a moron, just because she's incompetent, isn't your issue here. Now, there is another way you get rid of a mayor. There is a hearing that you can do where you start investigating the mayor for willful violation of duty or the commission of an offense involving moral turpitude. Now, what does that exactly mean? It means if you have a mayor who's accused of diddling little boys, you can fire that mayor, meaning Ed Murray. That's what you can do. You can get rid of a mayor like that. That's what that means. But getting rid of Katie Wilson just for being stupid, just for having bad hair, just for having a giant forehead, you can't do it.
I saw Moral Turpitude open for Tool.
Thank you.
Seems like a math rock band.
Speaking of Tool, let's get back to talking about Katie Wilson. So, thank you. So, you need to have a hearing and then written notice from the city council for at least 5 days before the hearing. Now, there are rumors going around that Dan Strauss and other council members are gearing up to have an investigation and inquiry, if you will, as to what happened last weekend. Does that count as your hearing? Is that what they're doing? They can't simply vote to remove a mayor because they disagree with her policies or think she's doing a bad job. You must have actual evidence that meet the charter's legal standard. That's going to be hard to do. And mind you, I do love the fact that Katie Wilson was getting slammed by literally everybody in that room about people having a lack of confidence in her leadership. Give a listen.
Mind you, the council, as you know, has criticized, and I want to get down to their exact words. Joy Hollingsworth, the council president, called this move irresponsible and it's a tad bit reckless. Deborah Juarez says the emergent issue is this: you do not fire your chief of police in the middle of a murder investigation. What we're seeing under this administration, her words, are more than just gaffes or missteps. I see a complete lack of leadership, and for some of us, no confidence in this administration. This has reached a level where we have to have a serious conversation about the confidence we have in this executive. So this is your chance to respond to the council. Why should the city of Seattle and this council have confidence in your leadership going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll repeat what I said to one of your colleagues here, which is that I respect their differences of opinion. And as the mayor, as the executive of the city, I do have a different window into our police department than they do. And I'm making the decision that I believe is best and urgent at this time for our police department and for this city.
I'm going to tell you why I don't believe that at all. Yes, the chief works for the mayor. But you think she knows more than city council members who were police officers, or she knows more than city council members who are on the public safety committee? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. And also, here's something else. If police officers are leaking stories to me and the rest of the media about Sean Barnes, about Katie Wilson, you think there aren't police officers also leaking stories to the council? Of course there are. You don't think there's staffers in the building of the mayor's office that are telling the council things? Of course they are. You don't think there's city employees who are telling the council things? Of course there are. This is across every single branch of government, where you're seeing more and more that Katie Wilson is completely inept. Don't forget what happened at a press conference a few days ago. Katie Wilson launches this $14 million pilot project about diversion and gun violence, and they haven't been paying the subcontractors. Now, I think these programs are a colossal waste of money, but they haven't been paying the subcontractors. She doesn't know how to make the basic things happen. There's a big difference between being an activist who just runs around protesting until you get what you want or threatening to withhold your endorsements. Katie Wilson has been part of this system for a long, long time. In fact, Deborah Juarez called out how long Katie Wilson's been part of this system.
But Mayor Wilson is not a newbie. She's not a novice. She is not, she is part of the establishment. She does know how things work here on the second floor. I've watched her for a decade on the second floor. She was one of the architects behind the Jumpstart tax. She knows how things work. She is not anti-establishment. And so I don't understand how this mayor cannot hear us when we try to share our wisdom, our collective experience, our expertise, because that's not what we're hearing. And what I'm seeing, this is me speaking. I'm seeing in real time real arrogance, a lack of commitment to working with the legislative branch, and a lot of privilege, quite frankly.
A lot of privilege. I love that part. Calling her out for the privilege.
And whose fault is that, lady?
Yeah, exactly.
Turns out we told her yes all the time, and now she thinks she's entitled.
Right. You guys did this. You guys caved to her little activist group for years. So she assumed you idiot council members would cave to her when she was mayor. Why are you surprised? You guys created this train wreck. You guys made this happen. This is the problem for me, okay? Everything is two sides in this. Barnes was an incompetent buffoon, and he was the fall guy. The city council's right that she's incompetent. You emboldened that incompetence to become mayor. Ugh, this is what happens when you turn over your city to activists. This is what happens. And I'll tell you something, my friends. Everybody is calling her out to her face. I've never seen this council united on anything.
Don't act like we don't like it a little bit.
Oh, I'm loving every second of it. I'm loving every second of it. But there's a little bit of hypocrisy in this, just a smidgen. The mainstream media finally doing their jobs, calling her out for the fact that nobody has confidence in her anymore.
Mayor Wilson, I wanted to ask about your relationship with the City Council because many of them were very critical of this decision and very critical of your leadership in this moment. I want to give you a chance to respond to that and explain how you're going to improve relationships with City Council, especially as you need them to move forward with on policies for the city.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. Yeah, I understand that many of my colleagues on the City Council disagree with the decision to move forward with a leadership change at SVD at this time. And I respect their differences of opinion. I guess what I will say is that as the mayor, as the executive of the city, I do have a different window into our police department than they do. And I'm confident that
I can't. Stop. That's the same nonsense you kept saying the whole time.
Real Fauci situation.
Yes, I know things you don't. Trust the science. Joe Biden's really, really sharp behind the scenes. It's all the same kind of excuses. It's all the exact same stuff. I'm tired of it. Hey, you know what? You got rid of this guy because he's not in town. You got rid of this guy because he lives in Chicago, right? Tell us about this new interim chief you guys have. I assume you got somebody who's a local, right?
How much and how that will change in this new role?
Thank you for the question. I maintain a home in East King County here. I also have a secondary home in Illinois, not in Wisconsin. I was the police chief in Wisconsin. I do frequently go back to visit my family, probably about every 8 weeks or so. But my wife spends most of her time out here with me. We're looking to make this our home, this our area that we can retire to one day. But right now, we have some kids that we need to get settled, and one day we'll make this area our home. But I currently live in East King County.
Why does everybody who work for the police department command staff live somewhere else? And why do they live in Chicago? And here's something else. Is Chicago known as a very safe city? A beacon of safety?
How about news?
Exactly. Chicago, what, were there 50 people shot last weekend and there'll be another 50 people?
Death, horrible death.
Exactly. And yet, this is Chicago? This is, we're bringing in all the police. You guys are doing a bang-up job in Chicago. Really, phenomenal job in Chicago. Why does the command staff of Seattle Police Department not live in Seattle? And here's something else.
Can you blame them?
Well, I mean, there is that. But think about this for a second. Katie Wilson, What was the big thing? We want police officers to be part of the community, want them to live in the community, want them to be known in the community.
A community.
A community. Yeah, they don't live here.
Guys probably coach a Little League back home.
Every 8 weeks. Hang on. Trying to figure out if the wife's always here and he's always here. The kids were getting them settled? How old are these kids? I mean, my kids are mostly out of the house, right? So my older two. My daughter, I don't care if she's 16 years old. I'm not going to let her just be on her own in a different city for 8 weeks at a time.
Yet alone Chicago.
Right. Chicago. You want to be a police officer? I think Chicago needs your help. Just put that out there. We're bad, but I think Chicago's worse.
And Carl Winslow days. That was Chicago?
Well, hang on.
Was that like
he's the cop in Ghostbusters. He's in New York.
What about like in Family Matters?
In Family Matters? Is that Chicago?
Or do they ever name a city, or is it one of those ambiguous shows where they don't really
I don't
address
remember what city. He's wearing the uniform.
It felt like a Midwest thing.
It does feel. I think you're right. I think that is. Now he's going to go Google it. I think it is Chicago. So Die Hard, he's in California. Ghostbusters, he's in New York. Where is he in Family Matters? It's got to be Chicago or something like that. That's where it's got to be, like something like that. You know what I find funny about all this?
Chicago Police Department.
It is the Chicago Police Department. Good job. Zach for the win. That show was never my favorite because of Urkel. Here's something else. Here's irony for you. Sean Barnes, you remember what he said a while ago when he was trying to make sure illegal aliens were not apprehended? Talk about him he's doing such a great job. Yeah, okay, wokest police chief in the country. Do you remember what he said about President Trump?
Well, it used to be.
Very good. We know he was just biding time here because he wanted to be the chief of the Chicago Police Department. He's just using this as a stepping stone and to pay off his debt.
He said, hey, Chicago, what do you say?
Very good. Oh, yeah, did I not mention he has $80,000 of IRS liens on his house? $80,000 of IRS liens on your... That's hard to get. You can have debt. Having debt is one thing. It's not great. But IRS liens on your house, you know how many years you have to pay taxes for them to put a lien on your house?
I upset the HOA on a weekly basis, and I don't have a lien on my house.
Here's something else regarding the lien on his house for a minute. You make $374,000 a year. Maybe if you weren't paying for 2 places to live, you could pay off the liens on your house. But getting back to this, because this clip is great. We found this in the archives, in the vault, from 6 months ago, of Police Chief Sean Barnes. You remember when he was making a big deal about the fact that he will not enforce the law regarding illegal immigration? Remember what he said?
I want to be clear, to protect anyone in Seattle from anyone who comes to this city with the intention to hurt them or inhibit their First Amendment rights. And what that means is, at some point, I will probably go to jail.
Sorry, that did age well because you got fired by the wokest mayor in America. You got fired. Yeah, I don't think you had to worry about going to jail, dude. I think you had to worry about the fellow progressive stabbing you in the back, because that's what that looks like right there. Man, what a cluster. What an absolute cluster this was today.
This is better than Spider-Man.
Oh, this is way better than Spider-Man, dude. In fact, my friends, this is so much better than Spider-Man that when we come back, I'm going to tell you stories from the room, because we were hearing what the press were saying to each other, and everybody's basically got is Wilson still in office? Is she still there? When are they going to throw her out? Stories from the room, from the press corps when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Lars is going to be joining us in about 10, 15 minutes. Just a thing for everybody else is that coming up from 6 to 7 o'clock, don't forget that we have the Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded. Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded runs from 6 to 7 now. If you missed some stuff from earlier in the show, we're going to run it there. Lars will be joining us at around 5:30-ish.
Sorry, that's what you get with some fill-in help around
I was going
here.
to say, it's okay, Zach. You've been funny today.
Can't all be Mr. KVI.
We will skip the beatings today. That's okay. Don't worry about that. You know who got a beating today? Katie Wilson. Let me tell you about that in that press briefing room today. Okay, so I need to explain something to you about the press briefing room. When I got there today to City Hall, have I ever been to a Seattle press? Yes, I have. Okay, it was never in that room, though. I always go to the ones in the lobby or the other stuff that's going on. So I don't go down to press conferences very often. If you have the entire media there, and you have me there, and Brandy there, and Cho there, and all the leftist bloggers there, you have a massive, massive problem. Now, what happens is my wife gets there before me. She's a journalist also. So my wife gets down there before me, and she tells me that they are not letting her and other members of the media upstairs to where the press conference is going to happen, that they're controlling access, that you have to be on a list, that she even showed them the invite to get in, and yet they were saying, no, that's just an email. You have to have the actual press invite to be here. Now, my wife may be short, but she's feisty, and she don't put up with that kind of stuff. But you know who else doesn't put up with that kind of stuff? People with cameras. She wasn't the only one being told this. So you've got some camera crews down there who start setting up downstairs to film the elevator, being like, this is going to be our story now. Our story is now going to be, we weren't allowed upstairs. Somebody from the mayor's office comes down and then goes, okay, everybody can go upstairs. So I posted about this on social media. I posted about this, and here's the funniest thing. The press conference is over, and you've seen this before with the videos with Jonathan Cho. You know, Jonathan Cho sometimes sneaks into rooms he's not supposed to be in and sometimes gets through doors that are open. There's a door, which is basically the escape hatch, as I call it. It goes back into the private offices, it goes to the bat cave for the mayor and everything that's back there, and it locks behind them, and you can't really follow them out. So Mayor Wilson's gone, right? But there's a staffer who comes up to me, who I just introduced myself a little bit previously, and I go, hey, I'm Ari, nice to meet you. I'm not the devil. Look, no horns, you know, not under that little hat on my head. No horns, we're good to go, no tail, see, I'm good. And the staffer comes out and goes, hey, Ari, did you post something about press not having access or anything like that? And was that on social media? And immediately my Disney vibes kick in. Immediately my Disney vibes kick in where I'm like, you're checking my social media? So I'm thinking to myself, you're checking the social media, right? And that's like kind of very reminiscent of Jack Sparrow.
You are without doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of. But you have heard of me.
Very Jack Sparrow there, right? Very, very Jack Sparrow where that's happening. So it turns out they said, no, that never happened. That's not what happened. There must have been a miscommunication. It must have been the person who's downstairs. I don't know, guys. What do you think? That's what they're saying. I have no reason to doubt the staffer who's in their communications department, or do you think they don't like the looks? Do you think they don't want another scandal today? This is what they told me. This is what they said. I have questions. Another one of them I went up to, and I was talking to the staffer, and I said, you know I'm on the blacklist. And I know that you guys don't give me all the press access I ask for. And I know you guys, whenever I ask for a statement or anything, I know there's a blacklist. It was under Harrell. I've got the PDR. I know it existed. I know it's there. If you guys give us stuff, at least we'll have a statement to read from you. Otherwise, we just assume you're hiding from the press. Oh, yeah, okay. What's funny is there was a reporter there from The Urbanist. The Urbanist, Phil always liked The Urbanist. Phil likes the socialists on social media, right? He always liked The Urbanist and all the people who talk about urban planning like bicycles. They love the bicycle people.
The real landscape architecture crowd.
There you go. Exactly those kind of people. So there's a woman from The Urbanist. How do I know she's from The Urbanist? She dresses the way you can imagine, and she's the only one in the room with a mask.
I thought you could just kind of smell it.
Well, I don't know how she smelled. I don't know, and she doesn't either because she's wearing a mask. But anyway, very nice conversation with the lady from The Urbanist. Very nice conversation. And when we were talking, I overheard her say to another reporter that the mayor doesn't get back to them. Mayor's office doesn't get back to them. I'm like, wait a minute. I assumed they weren't getting back to the big bad Ari Hoffman, anybody in conservative media. You're saying they don't get back to you either? That was the most shocking thing. That was truly the most shocking thing about this. It's like, oh, they're just incompetent. I thought they were just mean. No, they're beyond incompetent on every single level if they're not getting back to the left. So they needed a fall guy. And their fall guy is Sean Barnes. I don't think Katie Wilson realizes that now that you don't have Sean Barnes around anymore, every arrow, politically speaking, metaphorically speaking, I don't mean actual arrows, is coming for Katie Wilson. Every single one. That room, it was knives out politically from the journalists. They were all over her. Every single one. In fact, Hannah Kim from Fox 13 literally called her out with Sean Barnes, the fall guy.
Barnes, the fall guy, for missteps that happened after the Seattle Center shooting, including the 5-hour lack of information, except for a statement from your office which contained errors. What do you want members of the public who say you've made him the fall guy?
Yeah, I'll just say again, I firmly believe that I'm making the right decision at the right time, and part of this is a feeling of urgency around upcoming events this summer, including this weekend, wanting to make sure that we have the right leadership in place at SPD, the right communications protocols, so that as we move forward, we can be much clearer with the public if something like that should happen.
Seattle, have you learned your lesson yet? I mean, I warned you. We told everybody if you hire a person who's never had a real job before for a job of running a mayor, it's going to be a complete cluster. We've known it's been bad for months now. From day one, we knew it was bad. Like, bye. Remember that? She just said like bye to the police chief, and now everybody's trying to say like bye to her. By the way, you know what happens? If she actually gets removed by the city council or she actually steps down, you know the headline. Like bye, Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson, or Katie Wilson ousted as Seattle Mayor. That's going to be your new headline. Like bye. That's what it's going to be. Because at this point, everybody knows she's incompetent. I don't know how you recover from that. I really, really don't. I actually feel bad for her staff. I feel bad for her staff because some of them just want the job security, right? This is the job. If you quit, you're gone. You're out. No more job security anymore, but you're being dragged down with a sinking ship. For example, one of her press people who's filling in, not one of her full-time press people, one of her press people used to work for Seattle Police Department, and he was stellar. He was funny. He was entertaining. He is great. Now he's stuck working for Katie Wilson. Probably thought, this is a great gig. I'm in the highest ranking office in Seattle. And now I'm stuck with Katie Wilson, and he just wants to earn a living. He's stuck with her now.
How many of them are my age, just out of school with a poli-sci degree, and they're getting some job at the mayor's office, and that's great. And all of a sudden, she's a lunatic.
Yes.
And now you're back to square one.
Yes, exactly. But I'll tell you the most revealing thing. So I'm in the press briefing room. My wife got there before anybody else, and she's saving me a seat in the front row. I sit down in the front row. Zach, the distance between me and Katie Wilson was less than me and the glass that's right over there. That's how close we actually were. And her voice, you're not hearing it in the clips. It doesn't translate to the video footage. It doesn't. Her voice was shaking. She was shaking. She was nervous. She was sweating, and it wasn't because it was hot in the room. It wasn't because of that. She is in over her head.
I had a near identical experience at the World Cup when I was at a press gaggle with her. This was really about cameras and why is the International District not getting the revenue that surge that they anticipated or that you promised them from the World Cup, and why has homelessness just been shuffled around? That sort of, all those those are easy questions in hindsight, and it was the same thing. I was, shoulder to shoulder with her, and her voice is cracking, and she doesn't know where to look, and it was the same situation where the press was unified, which was a very, very bizarre situation for me to be in. Usually it's not that. Usually if I'm at a press conference on behalf of our sister station on the news side, I have to be very careful about how I ask things so that it doesn't come across, KVI adjacent. Not the case. When when the NPR stations are lobbing out questions and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it was today.
Yeah.
That's what it was today. And here's something else. Zach, I'm going to pick on you for 2 seconds. When Zach first started here, he didn't have a lot of on-air experience.
And by not a lot, we mean none.
None whatsoever. That's fine. There's a few of us like that. So Zach had no on-air experience. And we were doing the Fake News Friday segment. And I remember I gave you 1 or 2 constructive tips because some people got it and some people don't, and you clearly got it. But You adapted them, and you have to break some habits, and it takes a few weeks, and you break those habits. For somebody like her, rather than going down to Starbucks to protest Starbucks, maybe you should have done some public speaking classes, take a 2-week crash course, something for a little confidence. No, you think you know all there is to do, and you never put in the time, so you never got better at it. And you would think by now she'd be better at it, but the problem is her staff keeps sneaking her out of every press conference.
And that's my theory on that, is that because she's so bad at handling the press, which as a member of the press, I almost appreciate, because she will answer whatever you ask her, typically.
Yes.
Generally speaking. If you can get to the point that you can ask her a question, she will address it. But her staff knows that she's not going to address it in a way that's beneficial to the office, a.k.a. their job.
Yes.
So that's why they do everything in their power to whisk her away and get her away from you.
Yes, and that is exactly what happened today. So at the end of the press conference today, they're trying to wrap it up, and then a total Joe Biden happened right in front of us.
You've made it sound like there was an agreement.
Stop. Did you hear that beep beep? I'm going back for a second here. Getting asked the question. I'm playing this one more time. Here, listen one more time.
You've made it sound like there was.
Do you know what that is?
An agreement.
You hear the chunk chunk? That's them using their key card to open the door to get her out of the room. Hang on, we're going to do that one more time. Listen very, very carefully, right here in the background.
You've made it sound like there was an agreement between
Open the
you
door.
and Chief Barnes.
All the police officers start leaving.
Isn't the fact of the matter that you gave him an ultimatum that he would either leave or he'd be terminated?
I asked him to resign.
Is he getting money? Is he getting a settlement?
Goodbye. Goodbye. They're all leaving. No more questions. Goodbye. 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 You can't take the heat. You get out of the kitchen. You know, I know that we haven't had a mayor get reelected in a long time. I know we haven't had that. My question is, does she get through the whole term? Does she actually make it through her whole term? Or does she resign in disgrace? Go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Ray in Federal Way. Ray, what's up, man?
Hey, Ari, you know, I'm looking at what Katie done there. Even though she is woefully unprepared for what's in front of her, but as a carpenter who became a superintendent at the age of 25 and fired his entire staff and started from scratch and had to do all the work himself, I think she's doing the right thing even unknowingly. All the garbage that's around her that she sees as garbage, she's getting rid of. And that's going to reflect on everybody in the city council on the wrong side of stuff and all the free stuff that's going everywhere in every one of these NGOs. And I think the more people that she fires from shoot from the hip like that, I think the better.
Well,
and I think she'll learn from her experience, and hopefully the city of Seattle will be better for it.
Are we doing a parody here, or you actually think this?
No, I think this. I think she's absolutely unprepared for what she's doing, but in unknowingly doing so, she's making the right decision.
Unknowingly doing so. Unknowingly doing so. Okay. Sorry, Ray. There was a lost in translation there. I don't want to. Okay, so you mean getting rid of the incompetent police chief, even though it was a big mistake, she still got rid of the incompetent police chief. By getting rid of other people in Seattle City Hall who are agenda-driven, she may be getting rid of them or they may be fleeing, but they're getting rid of these people who are agenda-driven in City Hall, and you think we might be better for it on the other end, is what you're saying.
It couldn't hurt. That's what I'm saying.
If enough incompetent people.
When your enemies are hurting each other, don't get in the way.
Oh, that took me a second. That took me a second, Ray. I thought you were like one of her supporters calling in or something, and I was confused. No. I missed that word unintentionally. I'm sorry about that, Ray. Great point.
That's all right. No, I work and I pay taxes and stuff. It's all good.
Very good, Ray.
But I think the more mistakes, I'm not sure she's making a mistake. I would have fired that guy 10 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
The only person there in the last 12 years worth of anything was Sue Rahr, and I wasn't a big fan of her. But you know what? Get rid of everybody that's incompetent and everybody that kind of eating her cornflakes a little bit, and she'll get down to bare bones and might be able to get something done there in that town.
Eventually, you might actually get to the competent people and get rid of enough of the incompetent people. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. Up next, Lars will be unleashed. Lars Larson will stop by because he noticed something about that presser that nobody else did. Give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. You know, usually my friend Lars Larson and I are talking about the big national issues or what's going down in other parts of the Pacific Northwest outside our very own Psycho Washington. But now our Psycho Washington is the top news across the country for multiple bad reasons, whether it's because of the WNBA or because of incompetent mayors. Seattle, especially Seattle, not Washington. I can't even blame King County or Washington, is at the center of big stories. Of course, my buddy Lars is joining us now. You can listen to his show every single weekday from 12 to 3 right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Lars, you noticed something that I don't think anybody else has so far in that little video from Katie Wilson. What'd you see?
Well, what I saw was the mayor saying, I'm sorry we were late. We didn't get you information in a timely way. But then she said, but my primary concern is the families of the victims. And that she named the victims, including one of the victims who's been identified by police as not just the victim because he's dead, he got shot to death, but also because he was one of the shooters, according to the police. Now, that will never be adjudicated. So if anybody says, well, you can't prove that he was involved, well, no, because there won't be any kind of judicial recognition of that. We still got a shooter that's on the loose, and I would think that would be the mayor's number one concern. Instead, she's concerned about the family of this Nico Semo character, who apparently has had priors involving guns and is identified as one of the shooters. Do we extend sympathy to the families of the bad guys too?
Well, Pramila Jayapal mourned the 9/11 hijackers multiple years in a row. And then you've got the police chief, Sean Barnes, who said he didn't want to release the manifesto of the trans shooter of a Christian school when he was the police chief in Madison, Wisconsin, because he wanted to be sensitive to the shooter's family. Let's remember that, not the victims, the shooter. So is this just the new MO? I was actually talking to somebody the other day who is, shall we just say, not on the same political side as you and me.
Okay.
And they think that Mayor Katie Wilson is incompetent, but the way they were blaming what happened, they go, we should put the parents in jail. And I'm thinking to myself, well, a kid in full gang violence. Look, Lars, if yours or my kid was going down the wrong path, immediately we would say, okay, you're not going anywhere. I'm taking away your car keys. I'm taking away this. I'm taking away that. I'm taking away that. There might be some share of blame here, isn't there?
Yes, there might be. And in fact, just this week, you might check this. There's a case, and let me think, I think it's Georgia. They put a father in jail because he'd allowed his 15-year-old kid to have access to a rifle. Now, the kid can't buy the rifle on his own. Dad decides to buy the rifle. I've bought guns for my granddaughter, but she doesn't, get to have access to them unfettered and without adult supervision. So if you put a dangerous kid in possession of a gun, there was the case in Michigan where both of the parents ended up going to prison because they gave a gun to a kid who was having psychological problems. And then when the school called them up, said, hey, your kid's behaving weirdly, they didn't even bother to say, by the way, we need to make sure that he doesn't have the gun because he has unfettered access to it. So, yeah, there is some blame to go around in that way in specific cases. But I'm one of those people who I believe in the Second Amendment, and I am concerned that they start to extend this to say, well, if Smith and Wesson made a rifle or a pistol, and then that pistol was sold to somebody legally, and that guy goes off and commits a crime, it's Smith and Wesson's fault. No, I don't buy that. But if you're a parent and you put a gun in the hands of a psycho kid that you are in the best position to know is a psycho kid, and you don't decide to withdraw that gun, or even call the police and say, hey, my son's got access to a gun and he's behaving in an aberrant way. We need your help. But I don't even think the police are a good resource these days for things like that. I know that's a long, complicated answer, but that's where it is.
Well, no, because think about it. I forget which school shooting it was, which is horrible that there's been so many of them. But, when you don't have metal detectors and you don't have security at schools and you call them gun-free zones, what do you expect to happen? That the parents were actually sitting in the principal's office with the kid.
That was the Michigan case,
one.
And they both went to prison for that.
Right, because you don't think to yourself, hey, let me check the kid's bag right now. I mean, the kid may get suspended, the kid may get expelled, but the kid's alive, the kid can get help, and everybody else can get help too.
And by the way, do you know the great irony in that one? The principal was holding the kid's backpack bag, and he even said, hey, it's kind of heavy. Do you think the principal, who apparently was dumb as a bag of rocks or hammers, did he say, hey, would you open up your bag? And now, he can't. Maybe he needs a warrant to look into a closed backpack, but he could say to the kid or the parents, hey, we'd like to check your kid's backpack, see what's in there. There was a pistol in there and the kid used it to kill people.
Exactly. Now, the media is trying to make everybody crazy. Is Seafair going to be safe? And I think that's reckless and irresponsible. And I'll tell you why I think that's reckless and irresponsible. I went to Seafair every single year for the last 20 years. I'm probably going to head down there on Sunday. And Seafair has metal detectors. Seafair has bag checks. Seafair has security everywhere. And you mess with them and they'll send the Blue Angels after you. But Seafair has tons of security. This thing did not at all. So the fact that everybody's freaking out about Seafair, I said, one of these festivals had security. One of these festivals does not have security, just like the school shooting thing. Some schools have security. Every Jewish school I went to had security. Every single school I went to my entire life. And yet these schools we're talking about don't have security. And it seems like there needs to be a fundamental change in the way people think about this stuff.
I think there is, because I will tell you this. I was off for a few days last Friday through Wednesday. I took my granddaughter up to Silverwood, which is a great park. It's Disney without the woke in in northern Idaho, and it's all American and everything else. There is a bag check there, and one of the things I always carry in my pocket, I always have a pocket knife. I have since I was a kid. But I know that when I go into Silverwood, they don't allow you to carry a gun or a knife. And they do check your bags on the way in. Now, they're dealing with thousands and thousands of people on a daily basis, and they manage to do bag checks, and it's very sensible. Now I would be the first to admit to you that I think gun-free zones are actually more dangerous. Dr. John Lott can document that. But if you're going to say, if I'm going to go to the park, okay, I can leave my pocket knife behind and that sort of thing. If you're going to the bite should have the same kind of bag check. They apparently did not. And there were people on social media posting things saying, why don't they have any security at this thing? And the next day is the shooting.
Yeah. Now, Lars, there's a story you need to look into. I didn't give you the heads up on this. I'll send you the information on it. In Maryland, they have passed a law that you can't have guns within certain feet of religious institutions and public institutions. And the Jewish community is going bonkers crazy because the Jewish community goes, you're not going to protect us. We protect ourselves. And you're telling us now at our private institution where we control the security and we control the guns that we can't bring our guns. They got hit with a lawsuit, and the Department of Justice is now jumping on the bandwagon too. So if you want to protect yourselves, now some Democrats will try to stop you from protecting yourself.
Well, and consider the Hawaii case that just got decided, which was the one about, passing a law that said before you go in the store, you have to find out if they will allow you to carry a gun in the store, but you can't go in the store until you disarm, then go in the store and ask for permission to go back. And and the Supreme Court said, no, you're not going to do things that way. And I think Maryland's going to end up the same way. I hope, but it's stupid that we have to wade through the courts on this.
I completely agree. Leftism is a mental disorder. Lars Larson, you can catch a show every single weekday from 12 to 3 right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Lars, have a wonderful weekend, my friend.
And you as well. Take care, Ari.
We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode, another amazing week of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And don't forget, if you're just joining us for the end of the show, you got a whole nother hour of the Ari Hoffman Show for the Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded, sponsored by our friends over at Wade's Eastside Guns. So the Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded will run from 6 to 7 p.m. from now on, which is great. Really big thank you to our friends out at Wade's. I think I'm actually going to head there this weekend, too. Got to do some gun buying from a friend of mine who's moving to a place where they don't allow guns, so we're going to buy a few things off him. And my son's in town, so we're going to take him to the range. It'll be good stuff. Also this weekend, Seafair, my favorite weekend of the, I know, the hardcore ones are going to say, Seafair's all month, Ari. This is, the hydros and the blues are this. I know. Guess what? Everybody else calls it Seafair. So, anywho, I'm very, very excited about this. I'm excited about everything going on this weekend. Blue Angels are flying around, let me pull up the schedule right here for you. So the Blue Angels tomorrow are flying at around 3:30, I think, every day this week. Let me just double check. Yes, 3:30 is when the Blue Angels are going to be flying today. I think I missed them. Thanks, Katie Wilson. So I missed them today, and they're going to be flying at 3:30 tomorrow, and they're going to be flying at 3:30 also on Sunday, I believe. Yeah, that's exactly when it's going to be. Lots of great stuff. You should check out Seafair's website, seafair.com. I will also say, for those of you that have never been to Seafair itself down by the pits, if you've never been before, buy the $10 pit pass or whatever it is they're charging for to go see the hydroplanes and all that. If you've never been to the festival, go check it out. I love Seafair. I really, really do. It's so much fun. And when you're down in the pits, you get to meet the drivers and you get to meet all their pit crew. You get the tours of the pits. It's a lot of fun down there. There's a lot of great stuff. There's the antique car show that's going on. I absolutely love Seafair. This is one of my favorite weekends. There was one year where I think we had the opportunity to go out of town, and my wife's like, you want to go out of town? I'm like, absolutely not. It's Seafair weekend. We do not leave town for Seafair weekend. So that's a big how about no. July 4th, yeah, we could go away for that. But I think after this year, nothing tops that. I love everything about it. I love the Americana as for one weekend a year where Seattle actually feels like the rest of America. I love Seafair weekend. Also, here's something else. For those of you who are a little concerned about safety and security, given that it's Seattle, don't forget they have the metal detectors at Seafair. They have the metal detectors, they have the bag checks, they have all that kind of stuff. It's not Bite of Seattle. So head on down there. They got a lot of security. It's a lot of fun. I mean, as a guy who used to be a vendor of Seafair, we used to provide all the bounce houses and photo booths and all stuff they had down. We used to provide the superheroes and the balloon twisters and the face painters and all that stuff they had at Seafair. Head on down to Seafair. It's a lot of fun. It's great. All the flyovers, all the booths, all the stuff to see. I can't wait. I really can't wait to go down there. I'm very, very excited about it. So, yeah, enjoy Seafair while it's there. I know it's in South Seattle, but go check it out. Seafair is great. For those of you who've never been to Seafair, don't even know what Seafair is, get on down there for one weekend. It's a lot of fun. And if you can't get down there, head on over to the Museum of Flight. The Museum of Flight always has all the Seafair stuff down there. Check the Museum of Flight website for everything they got going on. Will be a lot of fun. Don't forget, the Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded is coming up next if you missed other parts of the show, but that's going to wrap it up for us this week. But fear not, my friends, because we will be back on Monday with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.